Chapter 1722. Yi Qing Luo laughed softly. I knew you would come. Her voice got softer and softer. Finally, she slowly shut her eyes and fell into a coma. Dmo Xian's heart was throbbing in pain. Lil Luo, The feeling of helplessness in his heart felt as though an icy cold hand was strangling his neck. That hand had even reached into his heart. Using that bone-piercing hand, it viciously crushed his heart. He tightened his arms. The person in his arms was as light as a feather. So light that he didn't dare to use too much strength. As though if he used too much strength, it would shatter. He trembled as he hugged her. Step by step, he walked towards the entrance of the sacred region. As he walked, he used his profound energy to treat Yi Qing Luo's injuries. Brother D. Feng Ling, who had climbed out of the blood pool, immediately chased after him. But she was not able to get close in time. A burst of profound qi charged straight at her. Feng Ling narrowly avoided that burst of profound qi. But her shoulder was still cut by the remnant aura. Feng Ling was in pain as she held her shoulder as her face turned pale. She knew that Dmo Xian did not kill her. This was only a warning to her. But Dmo Xian's action had expressed his attitude. He had completely hated her. This was a warning to her not to get close to him in future. Feng Ling's heart was in pain. Seeing Dmo Xian leaving without hesitation, he didn't even turn back to look at her. Feng Ling clutched her wet sleeves tightly as she pursed her lips and cried out, Brother D, I have a way to save her, only I can save her. Her words successfully made Dmo Xian stop in his tracks. Feng Ling's eyes lit up as she stumbled over. A pair of tearful beautiful eyes looked at Dmo Xian in a daze. Brother D, I really didn't do it on purpose. Believe me, I really didn't want to kill her. I was just blinded by greed. Feng Ling was crying as she leaned towards Dmo Xian. Her body had yet to get close. Dmo Xian's cold eyes glanced at her. The chilly intent in his eyes stopped Feng Ling's thoughts of getting closer. What way? Dmo Xian's voice was like frost. Feng Ling's delicate body trembled, and her eyes became misty. Brother D, do you really have the heart to do this to me? I was really possessed just now. I've loved you for so many years. Not waiting for her to finish, Dmo Xian directly turned around and walked out of the sacred region palace. He did not show any respect to wind chimes. Windling staggered a few steps back. Her heart ached so much that it could not be any more painful. He left so decisively. There was no hesitation at all. Did he really hate her that much? So hateful that he felt annoyed just by looking at her. A layer of madness and ruthlessness gradually appeared in Feng Ling's eyes. Her slender fingers were clenched into fists. She looked at the man who had already walked out of the palace. She took a deep breath. Big Brother D, you should also know that that woman's profound heart jade is different from our profound heart jade. With her strength, she is simply unable to control the profound heart jade. Windling stood where she was and did not chase after her. Her voice had also regained its usual gentleness and elegance. She didn't have to chase after him. Since Big Brother D loved that woman so much. Then, let Big Brother D take the initiative to return to her side for that woman. As long as Big Brother D was by her side. Even if he didn't love her, she didn't care. The infatuation in Windling's eyes continued to spread. Chapter 1723. He did not look back. Feng Ling knew that Brother D was waiting for her to continue. Feng Ling didn't keep him in suspense anymore, and continued. Her profound heart jade was sealed with a trace of profound Yin energy by the dark forces using a dark secret history, causing her to be devoured by the profound Yin energy once she uses the power of the profound heart jade. Feng Ling paused and slowly walked towards Dmo Xian, Brother D has always been by her side, so you should know about this matter. Dmo Xian did not answer. But he hugged Yiqing Luo tightly as he turned around and his icy cold eyes looked at her. Although his eyes were cold, she was still reflected in his eyes. Windling smiled. As long as he could see her, she was satisfied. If I'm not wrong, the wound on her chest should be the result of the King of Darkness forcefully digging out her profound heart jade and taking it for himself. Moreover, her profound heart jade has clearly been dug out. Feng Ling raised her finger and pointed at Yiqing Luo's chest. Drops of blood were still dripping from his blood-stained fingers. Dmo Xian lowered his head as his vision pierced through the fist-sized wound on Yiqing Luo's chest. A beating heart could be vaguely seen between the bones and flesh. Above his heart was a profound jade heart that was flickering with a brilliant purple light. Following the beating of his heart, it slightly swayed. Indeed, the profound heart jade had traces of movement. Did the King of Darkness dig out her profound heart jade? Even if you had people treat her external injuries and treat her internal injuries, but her profound jade heart was still damaged in the end. Her heart was also damaged. Feng Ling saw that Dmo Xian did not speak for a long time and she understood that Dmo Xian had tacitly agreed to her words. Otherwise, with Dmo Xian's character, he would just turn around and leave. Thinking like this, Feng Ling became even more confident in her heart. I have a way to suppress the power of her profound jade heart, and can repair the abnormal movements of her profound jade heart. Condition. Dmo Xian finally opened his mouth and it was just two simple words. Windling covered the spot where her heart was and felt a sharp pain coming from her heart. She let out a low laugh. The more he laughed, the more his eyes became dry and the more it hurt. In the end, she and Dmo Xian had still walked to this step. In the past, no matter how cold he was towards her, he at least had some warmth towards her. But now, in his eyes, he was no different from a stranger. Cold words and a gaze devoid of warmth. All of this was because of that woman, and now, she had to save that woman in order to gain Brother D's attention. How indignant. Feng Ling's resentful gaze made Dmo Xian's eyes sink. His ink-like peach blossom eyes were stained with coldness. What conditions do you want? Meeting Dmo Xian's gaze, Feng Ling's heart skipped a beat. The coldness in his eyes chilled her heart as well. Windling took a deep breath, maintaining her usual gentleness and elegance on her face. I wanted to tell you when we were in the flame lair. At that time, I really just wanted to tell you the method I know, but Dmo Xian made Tang Beiyuan send her back to the imperial palace like a criminal. Who was she? The granddaughter of the imperial palace's granny. The future mistress of the imperial palace. How could she be controlled by others? How could she allow Tang Beiyuan to send her back? Feng Ling raised her head and looked at Dmo Xian faintly. Since you said I want conditions, then I have conditions. Speak. Dmo Xian didn't want to waste a single word with her. Feng Ling's lips curled upwards as her smile became even more gentle. The heart-calming bead that Granny gave me can maintain and stabilize Yiqing Luo's profound jade heart and also stabilize her advancement speed, so that she won't be devoured by the profound jade heart. Chapter 1724. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly. You want this lord to grant you the position of mistress. Feng Ling clutched her robes tightly as she forcefully endured Dmo Xian's oppressive might and nodded. Yes, I want you to marry me and be with me, then. With her, never to meet again. Dmo Xian sneered as he gave a derisive laugh. On what basis do you think this lord will agree to your unreasonable request? On the basis that you care about her. Feng Ling wasn't willing to admit this matter, but she could only use this matter as the capital to threaten Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's voice paused as he had no words to refute. You care about Yiqing Luo, so this request to you isn't unreasonable. Feng Ling eased her tone. Brother D, I understand you too well. Dmo Xian lowered his eyes as he looked at the person in his arms. At that moment, Feng Ling could obviously feel that Dmo Xian's entire aura had turned gentle. The gaze he used to look at Yiqing Luo was so lingering and so gentle. This scene pulled at Feng Ling's heart. Her petite body trembled slightly as she clenched her fists tightly, forcing herself not to care about it. Dmo Xian's icy voice rang beside her ears. Since you know this lord cares about Lil Luo, then this lord will not agree to this request. He tightened his arms as he turned around and took a step forward. His voice continued to be heard. Feng Ling, Granny in the flame nest laid a hand on Lil Luo. This lord has given the both of you a way out, which is considered as this lord repaying Granny's nurturing grace. This time, you laid a hand on Lil Luo, this lord will not let it go easily. That menacing tone made Feng Ling feel weak and powerless. She fell on the bloody ground. He really intended to disregard their many years of friendship. Really? Going to lay a hand on the both of them? The man she had fallen in love with. He was really cold-hearted. So cold that he could lay a hand on them who had been together for more than 10 years just for a woman. Just as Dmo Xian had left for less than half an incense's time. Dark Sacred Region's palace entrance was suddenly shrouded in a thick black fog. This fog, as compared to the profound Yin Qi, was even more terrifying and terrifying. Feng Ling, who was sitting on the ground in a daze, revealed a panicky and terrified expression when she sensed the black fog. Shivering, she quickly got up from the ground and ran to the door. As soon as he arrived at the palace gate, he knelt down with a thud. My lord, why are you here? Her trembling voice could not hide the fear in Wind Chime's heart. Wind Chimes did not dare to raise her head. It was as if a huge hole had been torn open in the thick black smoke, and two figures gradually appeared. Thick black smoke shrouded the figure. His entire body was shrouded in a long black robe, revealing only a pair of eerie eyes. Poochie, a light laugh came from the mouth of one of the black-robed men. Judging from the voice, it was a woman. There was a hint of tenderness in her laughter. Lowly person, I asked you to do something for me. Why did you make yourself look like this? Feng Ling's delicate body stiffened, and her voice trembled as she replied, What does it look like? With a thud, a bronze mirror rolled to Feng Ling's side. Didn't His Excellency ask you to use your beauty to seduce your sweetheart to give the tranquility pearl away? The woman smiled tenderly, and her eerie eyes were filled with ridicule. Just based on your looks, and you still want to give the tranquility pearl away? Feng Ling hurriedly grabbed the bronze mirror. When she saw the person in the bronze mirror, Feng Ling screamed and threw the bronze mirror in her hands away. Chapter 1725. Feng Ling hugged her head and desperately let out a shrill scream. She was actually covered in blood. On her head, face, clothes. It was all sticky blood. Her face was red, her entire body was red. There wasn't a single part of her that was unscathed. She looked like a corpse bathed in blood. It was disgusting no matter how one looked at it. It was horrifying no matter how one looked at it. Feng Ling recalled. When Dmo Xian rushed over to the dark sacred region, she was sent flying by Dmo Xian's profound qi and fell into the blood pool. After that, her attention was placed on Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo because she was jealous of Yiqing Luo. She had totally forgotten about the matter of her falling into the blood pool. Earlier she had been using this look to negotiate with Dmo Xian. Earlier she used this look to enter Dmo Xian's vision. She had been maintaining her smile, maintaining her noble elegance, maintaining her gentle and virtuous demeanor. But her face was covered in blood. Who could see her smile clearly? Her noble elegance. Her gentle demeanor. Ah! Feng Ling hugged her head as she screamed crazily. The gentle image which she had been portraying in front of Dmo Xian was totally destroyed today. What are you screaming for? What's there to scream for? The lady's delicate voice revealed some impatience. I think, even if you look like this, Dmo Xian, that fellow, has no reaction at all. Feng Ling's scream stopped. That's right. Dmo Xian had no reaction at all. He looked at her covered in blood and in such a sorry state. Even his gaze didn't change. Even though there was her reflection in his eyes. But she could never walk into his heart. She was so ugly that Dmo Xian wouldn't give her any reaction at all. Lowly person, you can't even complete the task given to you. How dare you not listen when I speak to you? The lady laughed sinisterly. Following her sinister laughter, Feng Ling's body, which was covered in blood, was sent flying. Feng Ling crashed onto the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her body twitched in pain as she regained her senses from the pain she had suffered from Dmo Xian. A useless piece of trash. Just kill him. The woman narrowed her eerie eyes impatiently. Just as Xiao Qin was about to make a move, the black-clad man beside him, who had been silent all this time, said in a low voice, "He will come looking for you again. You have to give him the heart-setting pearl." It was obvious who he was referring to. This voice was a strange voice that had obviously used profound energy to change its tone. It wasn't hard to tell that it was a man's voice. The moment the man opened his mouth, Feng Ling's trembling body started to tremble even more in fear. She trembled and kowtowed hard on the ground. Yes. Yes, I will definitely send the tranquility bead out. I will not let him have any doubts. If someone was present at this moment, they would definitely feel that this scene was extremely comical and strange. In the Nirvana realm, the imperial palace could be considered as the supreme ruler. The existence of the imperial palace surpassed the existence of the four legendary sects of the four continents. Feng Ling was the granddaughter of the imperial palace's granny, and she was famous in Jianghu. He had a strong background and was extremely talented. Windling was never afraid of anyone. She could practically do whatever she wanted in the Nirvana realm. But in front of these two mysterious black-robed men, she didn't even dare to let out a fart. Main Academy Dormitory, Sky Dormitory 1. Boom boom boom. Bang bang bang. A few deafening collision sounds were heard, followed by a wave of tremors that shook the mountains. Chapter 1726. The student saw a huge white nine-tailed fox descending from the sky. The nine-tailed fox landed on the ground and its four huge claws stirred up numerous airflow. Sky Level 1's ground was embedded with four deep pits. 9 white tails smashed heavily on the ground. It's the sacred beast nine-tailed fox. The Overlord is back. Overlord. Is Madame Qing Luo back too? Madame Qing Luo. Madame Qing Luo. Numerous Devil classes students revealed a joyous expression the minute they saw the nine-tailed fox. All of them rushed forward, wanting to know their own boss's situation at the first instance. But before the students could even get close. However, it was blocked by an invisible airflow. A purple figure leapt down from the nine-tailed fox's back. In his arms was a young lady wrapped in a purple robe. Wasn't that their boss? Their boss was carried back by the Overlord. Their boss was injured. And it wasn't a light injury. This thought made Devil classes students' hearts suddenly twitch fiercely, as though it was pierced by numerous silver needles. All the students turned silent. None of them dared to go up to ask. Each and every one of them, carefully and quietly followed behind Dmo Xian. They knew that the Overlord cared more about Madame Qing Luo than they did. The Overlord's mood was even heavier than theirs. They followed Dmo Xian all the way to Yi Qing Luo's room. Just as Dmo Xian wanted to use his profound qi to split open that tightly shut door, Long Yunzhan speedily went up and pushed the door open. At the same time, they saw a figure dressed in a gold ingot robe dragging another person dressed in a white robe as they took a step forward and barged into the room. Devil Class's students were stunned as they prepared to take action to protect their own boss. But after they saw the two of them clearly, they heaved a sigh of relief. God Thief and Sir Ghost Doctor. Ghost Doctor was here. Their boss was saved. Dmo Xian's footsteps didn't stop, nor was there any signs of surprise. Apparently, he was the one who found these two people in advance. Dmo Xian placed Yiqing Luo on the bed with a grave expression. Ghost Doctor, I have already done a simple treatment for her, but it can only stop her bleeding and prevent the wound from getting infected. Ghost Doctor's face was gloomy as he didn't say a word. He only took quick steps to the bedside. When Yiqing Luo's purple robe was lifted, the Devil Class students all cried out in shock. There were a few female students whose eyes turned red as they called out Yiqing Luo's name softly. Their Madame Qing Luo was covered in blood. His green and white uniform was dyed red by the blood. What exactly did she go through? Was that why he was injured like this? What's the matter? Ghost Doctor roughly scanned through Yiqing Luo's injuries, as his face revealed a sliver of anger. Holy Pirates sucked in a cold breath. How could you be injured like this? Even they had never suffered such a serious injury. She alone sealed the Dark Forces King of Darkness back in the Dark Sanctuary. Dmo Xian's voice was extremely cold. His voice was tense, as if he was enduring a storm. This little girl is too reckless. When Holy Pirate heard this, he almost jumped up. Suddenly, the sound of chaotic footsteps came from the door of the room. The General Courtyard's president walked into the room in quick steps. Overlord, earlier you said the Dark Forces King of Darkness had been sealed. His words had just ended when an extremely chilly gaze suddenly fell onto him. Chapter 1727. The elder standing by the side took a careful look at Dmo Xian and immediately asked, Overlord, has student Yiqing Luo really sealed the King of Darkness? Just as he finished his words, Dmo Xian's arrogance had obviously subsided by quite a bit. Following closely behind the principal were the various academies' elders and elders, as well as numerous students. After all, the nine-tailed fox had created such a huge commotion and instantly attracted everyone's attention. When everyone rushed over, they heard the elder's question. Everyone was shocked. King of Darkness. After the Dark Force's huge actions in the Blaze Nest. Basically, everyone present knew about the Dark Coalition. Naturally, they also vaguely knew about the King of Darkness who looked down on the world and wanted to conquer Nirvana Realm and even the Upper Realm. After that, the King of Darkness was sealed in the Dark Sacred Region by the Upper Realm. The King of Darkness had been thinking of ways to remove the Sacred Region seal. This was the reason why the Dark Forces kept on collecting young cultivators' souls. When they heard that Yiqing Luo actually sealed the King of Darkness, everyone's first reaction was disbelief. Yiqing Luo was just a 15-year-old young lady. No matter how heaven-defying her innate talent was, it was absolutely not comparable to the old devil from 10,000 years ago. But Dmo Xian's suppressed voice was heard from the room, Are you doubting me? The elder shuddered, knowing that Dmo Xian's mood was definitely not good because of Yiqing Luo's injury. He immediately knelt on the ground with a plop, Overlord, we don't dare. The principal immediately understood why Dmo Xian's pressure suddenly soared. Because when he said that he had sealed the King of Darkness, he totally didn't express any concern for Yiqing Luo, and also linked the credit of the King of Darkness being sealed to Yiqing Luo. The principal had yet to open his mouth to salvage the situation. Yun Xiang, who was standing beside the Heavenly Academy, couldn't hold it in any longer. Overlord, we naturally don't dare to doubt your words, but But Yiqing Luo is just a cultivator who had just stepped into Earth's profound realm. No matter how strong her innate talent is, she's still a child. How could it be possible? He didn't finish his words. But the meaning behind his words was already clear. Indeed, they didn't dare to doubt the Overlord's words. But the Overlord insisted that the King of Darkness was sealed by Yiqing Luo. 90% of the people present wouldn't believe it. Perhaps, it was Di Zun who had destroyed the dark forces. Then pushed the credit to Yiqing Luo. No one dared to speak, but they all silently agreed with Yun Xiang's words. Dmo Xian raised his frosty peach blossom eyes, and that gaze seemed to be condensed with 10,000 layers of ice, freezing everything in this world. The cold air pressure seemed to freeze the air. Everyone could not help but feel nervous. Just when everyone thought that Dmo Xian was going to fly into a rage. However, Dmo Xian shifted his line of sight and looked towards the bed, at the pale-faced and unconscious young lady. His ribs are broken, and his body is covered with wounds of various sizes. The residual mysterious yin qi needs to be removed in time. Affected by the soul-assimilating curse, soul damage. His profound heart jade was almost dug out. There's a lot of blood. His profound heart jade has loosened, and his heart is affected. Word by word, he described Yiqing Luo's injuries extremely clearly. Listening, it seemed as though she was telling Ghost Doctor about Yiqing Luo's mother's condition. Chapter 1728. Dmo Xian's voice was extremely calm. But under that calmness, there was a storm that caused people's hearts to tremble. When the crowd heard that, their hearts trembled. They also understood Dmo Xian's meaning. The Overlord was feeling indignant for his beloved lady. For Nirvana Realm, for the various academies. Yiqing Luo risked her life alone. In the end, she almost lost her life and came back riddled with injuries. As for the various academies, there wasn't even a single word of concern. All they could think about was whether the dark forces were really destroyed. Hearing Dmo Xian listing out the injuries on Yiqing Luo's body, word by word. Every time he said a part, the crowd's heart would twitch faintly. Not long later, the female students' soft whimpers were heard from the surroundings. The various academies' directors and elders looked at each other in dismay. Their hearts were filled with admiration for this 15-year-old young lady. But they still couldn't believe that a 15-year-old youngster was able to reseal the King of Darkness who looked down on the world 10,000 years ago. One must know that 10,000 years ago, it was the people from the upper realm who came down and barely managed to seal the King of Darkness. Even now, the King of Darkness was still sealed in the sacred region. Even if the King of Darkness's consciousness was left in this world, it could easily exterminate Yiqing Luo. Otherwise, why would the people from the dark forces be so obedient, going around looking for young cultivator's soul, as food for the King of Darkness to break the seal? Student Yiqing Luo has a strong presence of the King of Darkness. Suddenly, a steady voice was heard from the door. Following that, a young man dressed in a black robe walked in with an air of seniority. Beside him, there was an evil-looking young man dressed in white robe. The moment they saw them, the various academies immediately opened up a path and greeted respectfully. Master Gue Wu, Instructor Zoemo. Gue Wu walked directly into the spacious room. The entire room was filled with Devil Class's students and a few people from the headquarters. Gue Wu frowned as his vision fell onto Yiqing Luo, who was covered in blood. The King of Darkness consciousness was indeed sealed by her. Gue Wu's pupils contracted slightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions. This classmate can create countless miracles. If it's her. If you say that she can ascend to the upper realm in the future, I will also believe it. These words caused 10,000 ripples on the surface of the ocean. Who was Gue Wu? Gue Wu was a famous martial arts fanatic. His strength was unfathomable. His martial prowess was unparalleled. More importantly, the profound practitioners who had been judged by him had never been wrong. He said that young profound practitioners were dragons and phoenixes among men. That person would definitely become a respectable high-level profound practitioner in the future. He said that young profound practitioners only had talent and would never amount to anything in the future. That person would definitely become the lowest slave in the future. Even if the person who was judged as a failure had a strong background. None of them could escape Gue Wu's prophecy. Of course, this prophecy was only based on Gue Wu's several days of guiding the profound practitioners in their training, as well as their innate talent. There was a rumor in the Nirvana realm. Some people didn't believe in heresy and purposely nurtured people who were judged as useless. But no matter how they nurtured them, in the end, it still proved Gue Wu's prophecy. Gradually, Gue Wu's prophecy towards the profound practitioners became the mouth of a god. This was also the reason why the various academies who were participating in the exchange were so excited when they heard that Master Gue Wu would be coming to train the students. Everyone hoped to get a sentence from Gue Wu. But now, Gue Wu actually had such a high evaluation towards a 15-year-old young lady. Chapter 1729. With Ghost Marshall's appearance, everyone believed more than half of it. After that, Ghost Doctor who had been silently administering acupuncture for Yiqing Luo's injury spoke in an icy cold voice, suppressing a thick anger. This lass had forcefully broken through the dark incantation soul-absorbing incantation, and the damage to her soul is rather huge. F***K. Ghost Doctor, don't scare me. I only have this one sugar daddy and I'm counting on her to support me for the rest of my life. You have to cure my lass. When God Thief heard that, he wailed anxiously. When the surrounding crowd heard the two words, Ghost Doctor, all of them shuddered. Ghost Doctor. That ghost hand doctor. Able to turn a dead person into a living person, able to turn a handicapped person into a healthy person, able to turn trash into a genius. The various academies' directors present were even more shocked by this name. One must know that they had expended so much effort to search for this ghost hand doctor, just to invite him to enter their academy. But this ghost doctor finally entered Heavenly Academy and became their alchemist. They had not expected, they actually met Ghost Doctor here. Hearing Ghost Doctor's words, everyone completely believed in Dmo Xian's words. At this moment, everyone's vision fell onto God Thief. This old man, dressed like a nouveau riche. But they all remembered that Ghost Doctor was with him, holding hands as they rushed to Yiqing Luo's room. This showed the relationship between the two of them. It showed that this nouveau riche old man's status was definitely not low. After that, this nouveau riche old man treated Yiqing Luo as his sugar daddy and even supported him for the rest of his life. What identity did Yiqing Luo have? The people around him were all F***king big shots. Moreover, look at Ghost Doctor. When he was treating Yiqing Luo, he was so serious and his eyes were filled with worry. It showed that Ghost Doctor was extremely concerned about Yiqing Luo. One must know that it was rumored that Ghost Doctor was someone who was especially afraid of trouble and he only knew how to refine pills continuously. Towards things like treating illnesses and injuries, he had no interest at all. It was also rumored that when Heavenly Dean met with an ambush and almost lost his life, he begged Ghost Doctor to save him, but Ghost Doctor used the excuse of disturbing him while he was refining pills and directly kicked him out. But now, this Ghost Doctor who was afraid of trouble, came all the way from West Continent to South Continent, trying his best to treat Yiqing Luo. This Yiqing Luo. It was simply too astonishing. Taking another look at the group of people surrounding Yiqing Luo. Which one of them was not a dragon or phoenix among men? Which one of them was not the center of attention? Which one of them was not of noble status? Some people in the venue expressed their agreement. The amount of information they had received today was too much, too much. It was also at this moment that everyone remembered the name of the hero who saved the students of the various academies and sealed the remaining consciousness of the King of Darkness. Night. Qing. Fall. A 15-year-old girl. He used to be the young master of the Three Springs sect and was famous in the Nirvana realm with his useless body. At the mention of it, it was a mocking sneer. Now that she had been reborn, her strength had once again become famous. When mentioned, there were many praises and respect. The treatment lasted for 3 days. Those people from various academies, after admiring Yiqing Luo from the bottom of their hearts, were chased back by Dmo Xian Kuli. The students of Devil class were also chased out of the room. Only a few were left who could help. Yiqing Luo remained unconscious for 3 days. Dmo Xian accompanied her for 3 days, not eating, not drinking, not sleeping or resting. Ghost Doctor had been helping Yiqing Luo to stabilize her soul in these 3 days, treating the complicated wounds on her body. Chapter 1730. God Thief immediately supported Ghost Doctor. How is it? Is that lass all right? Ghost Doctor waved his hand weakly. Under God Thief's support, he sat on a soft chair by the side. Everyone's gazes in the room all turned towards Ghost Doctor. Yan Xiao-yi brought a cup of tea and passed it to Ghost Doctor. Ghost Doctor drank a mouthful of tea and slowly raised his eyes. His chilly eyes looked at the dispirited Dmo Xian as his voice was hoarse. Her physique is very shocking. Plus on the way here, you've given her a simple treatment. The external injuries on her will be completely healed within these few days. After hearing Ghost Doctor's words, the people in the room didn't feel happy at all. Instead their expressions turned grave. Yiqing Luo's external injuries weren't the most serious. The most serious was her internal injuries. As expected, at the next instance, Ghost Doctor continued, her soul suffered a serious injury and her soul was almost absorbed by the soul-assimilating incantation. But, luckily this lass's willpower is firm and she managed to reunite her soul with herself. Looking at everyone's anxious expressions, Ghost Doctor's vision floated towards Yiqing Luo. Her soul has already been restored, but what? Dmo Xian's brows creased tightly as his tone revealed a sense of urgency. His slender long hand held one of Yiqing Luo's hand. His fingertips gently caressed the back of her hand. In his heart, he suddenly recalled what Feng Ling told him in the dark sacred region. Ghost Doctor paused after every word. This time when she went against the King of Darkness, her profound jade heart had been depleted too much, and if she's not careful, it would cause the profound jade heart to backfire. This profound jade heart of hers. Ghost Doctor paused as he looked at the surroundings. The people in the room were Ghost Doctor, God Thief, Old Man Guiyu, Dmo Xian, Long Yunzhan, Yan Xiao-yi and a few other devil class students. After ascertaining that there were no outsiders, he then spoke in a deep voice, you should already know about it. And Dmo Xian nodded his head solemnly. This lass's profound jade heart had been corroded by profound yin qi previously. Her profound jade heart has traces of being purified. Dmo Xian nodded his head as he narrated the incident of Yiqing Luo being controlled and almost losing control in a concise and comprehensive manner. The purification this time should have happened during the battle between this lass and the King of Darkness. Her profound heart jade was forcefully dug out, causing the profound heart jade to release its protective ability on its own. As a result, the profound yin energy within the profound heart jade was purified. This might be the true reason why this lass had the ability to seal the King of Darkness. However, her own strength was unable to withstand the power that the profound heart jade gave her. Over a long period of time and over a long period of energy consumption, the girl's body would become increasingly unable to bear the burden of the profound jade heart. People with weak willpower would probably be swallowed by the profound jade heart. And for a person like this girl, whose willpower is too firm, and whose profound heart jade also doesn't have the intention to devour its master, this kind of situation will be created. The ghost doctor's explanation made everyone feel a little confused. But Dmo Xian understood. His expression became increasingly grave. Right now, Lil Luo, what other problems does the profound heart jade have? The problem isn't really a big problem, but according to this last abnormal innate talent, there might be a little problem. Ghost Doctor deliberated over his words as he spoke with some uncertainty. Her profound jade heart had been overdrawn this time, which led to the profound jade heart to have some unusual reaction, and there's a possibility that it might accelerate this lass's advancement speed. Isn't accelerating advancement speed a good thing? Yan Xiaoyi asked in astonishment when she heard that. Chapter 1731. Lass Luo is after all an ordinary person, no one can become a big fatty in one bite. Ghost Doctor explained patiently, advancing too quickly is indeed a good thing for cultivators, but Lass Luo's innate talent is already extremely strong. Everyone expressed their agreement on this point. Yiqing Luo was simply like a huge abnormality. That speed of advancement was as though it was free of charge. Their eyeballs almost popped out in minutes. Her current innate talent can allow her to advance from Earth Profound Realm to Sky Profound First Grade in a few short days. But now, she can advance a grade in a day. Advance a grade, in a day. What kind of joke was that? For ordinary people like them, after Earth Profound 5th grade, every grade would take at least 1.5 years. Not to mention Sky Profound Realm. To advance a grade was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Ghost Doctor actually said. Advance a grade in a day. This was 2F** King perverted. She wasn't a human, she was a beast. Yan Xiaoyi and the others clenched their fists as their faces were filled with tears, as they looked at Yiqing Luo as though they were looking at a beast. Sir Ghost Doctor, what you mean is, advancing a grade in a day, to Qing Luo, is harmful and not beneficial. Long Yunzhan grasped the key point as he asked in a deep voice. The atmosphere instantly turned heavy. Ghost Doctor nodded, just like what I said earlier, advancing a grade in a day, moreover its Sky Profound Realm's profound grade, to Lass Luo's body, it is not able to contain such thick and dense profound qi. After it exceeds the load that her body can take, even if her profound jade heart is not willing to devour its master, it will eventually be suppressed by the dense profound qi and have no choice but to do so. Everything had to be done step by step. Cultivation was the same. The wonderful thing of ascending to heaven in one step, even if it really happened, would depend on whether one had the ability to enjoy it. The room instantly quietened down. The few of them looked at each other in dismay, as their faces revealed a shocked expression. Then, Sir Ghost Doctor, how can we restrain Qing Luo's advancement speed? We can only try our best to restore her profound jade heart. Ghost Doctor shook his head helplessly. This was the first time he had met with such a situation. Divine Phoenix profound jade heart, there was only one piece in this world. He had never thought that possessing such a profound heart jade was sometimes not a good thing. Ghost Doctor. Dmo Xian muttered to himself for a moment as his eyes flashed slightly. This lord has a matter which I wish to discuss with you alone. Everyone was taken aback. But he didn't ask any more questions. These few days, as everyone was worried about Yiqing Luo, they were all busy and had no way to eat, drink, relieve themselves or sleep peacefully. Now that he had ascertained that Yiqing Luo had basically recovered, other than the condition of that profound jade heart, there were no other major problems. They left the room first. Dmo Xian took a deep look at the young lady who was sleeping soundly on the bed and slowly released her hand as he walked towards the door. The Ghost Doctor put down her teacup and followed. Holy Pirate and Old Man Gue, you took the prescription from the Ghost Doctor and went to prepare the medicine. The room that was originally full of people suddenly became empty and quiet. At this moment, the unconscious girl who had been lying on the bed suddenly opened her eyes. Her enchanting eyes glowed with brilliance. There wasn't the slightest bit of turbidity and confusion of a person who had just woken up. She had long woken up under Old Man Tsang's call the moment ghost doctor stopped his acupuncture. Yiqing Luo didn't know Old Man Tsang's motive for forcefully waking her up. But after she heard the ghost doctor's words, she suddenly understood something. Her profound jade heart, because she had forcefully dug it away, wanting to detonate the profound jade heart and perish together with the King of Darkness. Chapter 1732. This matter, he had the right to let her know. Therefore, Old Man Tsang forcibly woke her up. However, Old Man Tsang sighed heavily. What this old man wants to say is not this. And not because of the profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo was surprised, but suddenly a white light flashed in front of her. Immediately, she saw a ball of white mist rising up, slowly revealing a figure. The white robe was like white mist, illusory, the white hair and white eyebrows of the old man, hazy. There was a bit of a sage-like aura. Yiqing Luo was startled. Old Man Tsang, you can show your spiritual body. All along, she could only see Old Man Tsang inside the azure dew bracelet. She remembered that Old Man Tsang once said. Once he could show his spiritual body and leave the azure dew bracelet. Within 100 meters of her, Old Man Tsang could move freely. He could also help her fight together. It was like having a little helper, and a very powerful helper. In this battle, your body was once again transformed by the divine phoenix profound heart jade. Qi and Qi Yen also fell into a deep sleep and are about to advance. This old man was naturally affected by the divine phoenix profound heart jade. Old Man Tsang swayed his spiritual body on Yiqing Luo's head. Since Yiqing Luo fainted, he had been desperately cultivating in the azure dew bracelet. Finally, he managed to cultivate his spiritual body. This lass was too easy to mess around. If he didn't cultivate his spiritual body and protect this lass in times of danger, he didn't know how long this lass' luck would last. Yiqing Luo didn't expect that this battle actually gave Qi and Qi Yen the opportunity to advance. Even Old Man Tsang cultivated his spiritual body. It seemed that this injury of hers wasn't in vain. Yes, it's not in vain. Old Man Tsang rolled his eyes and laughed coldly. This old man wants to see how long you can laugh for. Isn't it just a change in the profound heart jade? One great a day, I don't believe that I can't conquer my own profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo's slender brows slightly knitted. She also understood the consequences of crazily increasing the grade. But, at this point, no matter how worried she was, it was of no use. He might as well make use of this strange movement and fight for his life. He might even be able to conquer the divine phoenix profound heart jade. From then on, he would completely absorb the profound energy brought about by the unusual movement. He thought back to the battle with the King of Darkness. He thought about how even the people of the upper realm coveted his profound heart jade. She couldn't wait to become stronger. She wanted to protect what belonged to her. Furthermore, if this King of Darkness was destroyed, another King of Darkness would appear. The King of Darkness in the Darkness Sanctuary only had 1/10,000th of the King of Darkness's power, yet she, who had not yet transformed because of the divine phoenix profound heart jade, was almost unable to withstand it. She was even almost forced to perish together with the King of Darkness. She was deeply aware of her own insignificance. She wanted to become stronger. He wanted to become stronger. Yiqing Luo's eyes shot out a resolute radiance. Her slender, scarred fingers clenched into a fist. I believe that you can create a miracle, but, after you conquer the divine phoenix profound heart jade, I'm afraid your man will run away. Old Man Tsang looked at Yiqing Luo's resolute eyes and sighed softly. He knew that Yiqing Luo was a stubborn child who wasn't willing to admit defeat easily. He had long guessed that after Yiqing Luo found out about his profound heart jade's strange movement, she would definitely choose to conquer it, and not think of ways to avoid it. Man. Yiqing Luo frowned. What do you mean? Chapter 1733. Your man is going to run away with another woman soon. Old man Song floated one round on top of her head as he smacked his lips. If you don't stop him, don't cry to me later. Yiqing Luo's lips curled sinisterly. If he dares to run away with another woman, I will chop off his 3 legs. Old man Song looked at Yiqing Luo's strange smile. His eyes revealed a murderous glint as he shivered. Where did the 3 legs come from? Yiqing Luo sneered. It can only be understood, but not explained. As he said that, he let out a meaningful sneer. No matter how stupid a person was, hearing this sentence and looking at Yiqing Luo's expression, he could roughly guess what the so-called 3rd leg was referring to. Old man Song instinctively shrunk his legs as he coughed a few times. Just based on you want to chop off the overlord's legs. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. He won't run. What if it's for you? Old man Song looked at her confident look and couldn't bear to pour cold water on her. But if he didn't pour cold water on her, Dmo Xian might really make a decision that he shouldn't have. Yiqing Luo's smile instantly turned cold as her eyes turned solemn. What do you mean? There's a way to stabilize your profound jade heart. Old man Song said. Yiqing Luo's brows twitched as she recalled what they had discussed in the room earlier, when Dmo Xian suddenly wanted to have a private chat with Ghost Doctor. She narrowed her eyes. What way? Calming Pearl. Old man Song said in a deep voice, this is also a god relic that can stabilize a cultivator's profound jade heart. Yiqing Luo muttered softly, Calming Pearl. The effect of the Calming Pearl is usually to suppress those cultivators who are too anxious to advance, which leads to chi deviation. Old man Song explained, if the Calming Pearl is in your hands, your profound jade heart will be stabilized and suppressed to a similar level as your own profound energy. So, someone used the Calming Pearl to make a deal with Xian. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed a sly glint. Old man Song choked on his words, yes. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as her pink lips curled into a sneer. The person with the tranquil bead, is it Feng Ling? The corner of old man Song's mouth twitched. He still hadn't said anything. Couldn't he have some meaning to his existence? Did he say it without any suspense? So easy to guess. Yiqing Luo could tell what old man Song was thinking and laughed lightly. Before I fainted, other than Xian, the only person I saw was Feng Ling. Yiqing Luo looked at her body which was wrapped up like a mummy. With my injuries like this, Xian must have stayed by my side for the past few days. It's impossible for him to see anyone else. So, aside from wind chimes, who I met in dark sacred region, I can't think of anyone else. Moreover, old man Song had also said that it was a woman. Moreover, it was a woman who would let Dmo Xian escape. Among the women who coveted Dmo Xian's beauty. Other than Feng Ling, that woman, there seemed to be no other woman who dared to negotiate with Dmo Xian. Feng Ling actually had the tranquility orb in her hands. However, even if Wind Chime really had something that she got from Wind Chime, she didn't feel at ease using it. It's her. Old man Song took a look at the calm Yiqing Luo as his heart was filled with worry. He simply repeated the conversation between Dmo Xian and Feng Ling after Yiqing Luo had fainted. Following that, he sized up Yiqing Luo's expression. He discovered that she was as calm as usual. Chapter 1734. Lass, aren't you worried? Old man Song's spirit body swayed to Yiqing Luo's side and sat down by her bed. Yiqing Luo shook her head. Xian won't. Her smile was calm and so was her tone. Her confident tone made the expression on old man Song's face gradually show a trace of amiability. He laughed lowly. And, since Feng Ling dares to use that thing to threaten Ah Xian, then, that thing, I must have it. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly, swaying and swaying, rippling a trace of evil smile. Old man Song was stunned and suddenly shook his head helplessly. You two know each other too well. Yiqing Luo raised a bright smile, because, we trust each other. You and him, are really a match made in heaven. Old man Song was dazed by Yiqing Luo's bright smile for a moment. In his mind, the scene of Dmo Xian carrying Yiqing Luo who was covered in blood and walking out of the dark sacred region appeared. He remembered, at that time, he said in the Azure Dew bracelet, what that woman said is true, only the heart-setting pearl can stabilize the girl's profound jade heart. This Lord knows. Dmo Xian's voice was calm. If you know, why refuse? Old man Song could see that Dmo Xian really cared about Yiqing Luo. But, he refused so bluntly. Wasn't he worried that it would agitate Feng Ling and destroy the heart-setting pearl or something? Dmo Xian lowered his eyes and gazed deeply at the pale person in his arms, because she won't agree. Old man Song had no words to refute. Indeed. Yiqing Luo would not agree. For a heart-setting pearl, she lost her beloved man. This kind of thing, Yiqing Luo would rather die than agree. If this lord really agreed to Feng Ling's request, it would be the real harm to little Luo. Dmo Xian's voice was soft, with a trace of trembling. This lord will absolutely not do anything to hurt little Luo, in the name of love. That words carried a deep tenderness. Even old man Song, who had long sealed his heart for thousands of years, couldn't help but be touched. Old man Song sighed softly. As an elder, Dmo Xian's attention and concern towards Yiqing Luo made him feel gratified and happy for her. But as the Azure Dew bracelet's guardian, as Yiqing Luo's contractor, he didn't wish for any accidents to happen to Yiqing Luo's body. He had to obtain the heart-calming pearl. Lil Luo needs the heart-calming bead. I will find a way to get it. Dmo Xian seemed to have guessed old man Song's thoughts. More importantly, Lil Luo will definitely want to personally obtain what she wants. His little Luo was never one to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. She had never needed to hide under his wings and rely on him to survive. Because of this, he let Feng Ling go. Windling was not qualified to make a deal with him. If he wanted to obtain the tranquility bead, he would have to find a way to obtain it. He could have taken it from Winchim in the darkness sacred region. Even if the imperial palace's granny appeared in person, he would not give them any face. But Dmo Xian understood Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo knew that the tranquil pearl was in Feng Ling's hands, she must want to personally obtain the tranquility orb from Feng Ling. Old man Song regained his senses from his memories. His kind and gentle eyes quietly looked at Yiqing Luo. You first recuperate well from your injuries. During this period of time, I will try my best to suppress your profound jade heart's abnormal movements. Yiqing Luo smiled as she nodded. I know. However, in the depths of her smile, there was a trace of cold glint hidden. Feng Ling wanted to kill her and even wanted to snatch her man. Chapter 1735. The news of Yiqing Luo's awakening had spread throughout the entire South Continent. In just a short span of 2 days, Sky First Residence's courtyard was filled with various academies' directors, elders and students. The gifts piled up could fill up a room. Especially the various academies' students, their attitude towards Yiqing Luo was filled with passion. They simply couldn't wait to worship Yiqing Luo like a fairy. In the various academies' students' hearts, after everything that happened in the Blazing Flame Nest, Yiqing Luo was already the Nine Heavens' mysterious fairy. She even used her own power to seal the King of Darkness's consciousness from 10,000 years ago. For Nirvana Realm's safety, she almost paid the price of her life. This kind of young lady was exactly a fairy. The Academy's directors, no matter if it was for the sake of appearances, or to build a relationship with Yiqing Luo, of course, the most important thing was to build a relationship with those few powerhouses behind Yiqing Luo, all of them fawned on her. It could be said that this time, Yiqing Luo was completely famous. And she was famous in the entire Nirvana realm. Looking at the hustle and bustle outside the house. Looking at Tong Ziqing and the rest, who were busy moving those extremely valuable gifts, Yiqing Luo pinched her brows tiredly. If you're tired, let them go back first. Long Yunzhan acutely noticed Yiqing Luo's expression as he spoke with concern. These gifts, we don't. These are all exchanged with my life. I almost died in the dark sacred region, just a few words of thanks, what's the use? Yiqing Luo shook her head as she yawned. These things are merely external objects, don't disturb your peaceful rest. Long Yunzhan frowned slightly, feeling slightly displeased with Yiqing Luo's attitude. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. I've made such a huge contribution this time, saving so many people from various academies. The things that they send over, no matter how bad, would not be lower than the miraculous grade. Moreover, there are so many precious and rare medicinal herbs, why wouldn't I want these things that are sent to me for free? So what if it's external objects? If there weren't these external objects, we would all die on the streets. Your body. Long Yunzhan knew that he couldn't reason with Yiqing Luo, so he could only sigh helplessly. No problem. Yiqing Luo waved her hand. Even if she wanted to recuperate, she did not have the mood to recuperate, nor could she settle down to recuperate. He might as well meet the people from the various academies. Not only would they receive all kinds of valuable gifts, but they would also be able to show their faces in front of the various major forces. In the future, when they went to other continents, they would at least have a backer to rely on. One had to know that when one was outside, one had to rely on one's friends and thighs. More importantly, she wanted to kill time. She wanted to occupy all her time with busyness. That way, she wouldn't think about it anymore, that peerless man. She would no longer have the urge to strangle that man who only knew how to flirt with her. After chatting with old man Tsang that day, she was, after all, still an injured patient. Not long after, she fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up, Kitty Li and Yen Xiaoyi were sitting at the head of the bed. Their exclamations attracted the attention of the people outside the door. Long Yunzhan, Qiao Jin, Tong Ziqing, Mo Yuing. After that, there was Holy Pirate, Ghost Doctor, Ghost Warrior, and Zhou Mo. However, the peerless purple figure was nowhere to be seen. She was slightly astonished and wanted to ask Dmo Xian. But she saw Yen Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing's evasive gaze. Chapter 1736. Wait for him to return. Wait his grandpa. She was lying on the bed with serious injuries and was still unconscious. He actually left just like that. Left? Left? Hadn't he guarded her for 3 days and 3 nights without eating, drinking or sleeping? Just a little bit more, couldn't he have persevered a little more? Was it the way she woke up was wrong? Or was it the way she woke up was wrong? The correct way shouldn't be when she woke up from serious injuries and saw her beloved man sitting by the bedside with a haggard look. Then she would touch the stubble on his chin, feeling heartache. Look! How romantic and beautiful was this? She would be so touched that she would devote her life to him. But unfortunately, such a beautiful and romantic plot, when it came to her, turned into this. Even if Yiqing Luo usually looked like a man. But in front of Dmo Xian, she was still a little lady. Women, more or less, had that little bit of romantic feelings. For example, she had almost lost her life this time. Of course she hoped that she could open her eyes and see Dmo Xian by her side. Although she knew clearly that Dmo Xian would suddenly leave after guarding her for 3 days and 3 nights, there must be an extremely important matter which required him to settle personally. But she was feeling unhappy. She just wanted to throw a tantrum at Dmo Xian. The bustling noise beside her ears made Yiqing Luo retract her soul trace from her memories. Yiqing Luo shook her head, throwing that wicked man out of her mind. Yan Xiaoyi and the others stood by the side, and when they saw Yiqing Luo's expression, it was the same as yesterday when she heard that Dmo Xian wasn't around. A flash of desolation flashed past. They all sighed one after another. And no one tried to dissuade Yiqing Luo. Qing Luo. Long Yunzhan's eyes were filled with worry. Your body. Suddenly, his sleeves were tugged. Long Yunzhan glanced sideways and saw Tong Ziqing tugging his sleeves lightly, shaking her head at him. Long Yunzhan stopped his voice. Anyone could tell the reason why Yiqing Luo kept on receiving people from various academies. They were helpless too. The overlord was obviously so worried about Qing Luo. Why did he have to leave on the same day when Qing Luo woke up? How could it be so coincidental? Luckily, Ghost Doctor had already ascertained that Yiqing Luo's external injuries were almost completely healed, and her internal injuries would only need to recuperate for a few more days before she could jump around again. That was why they didn't forcefully stop Yiqing Luo's actions. It was already the evening of the same day. The sky gradually darkened. Only then did the number of people in House Tian gradually decrease. The students of the Devil class were packing up the presents. The dean and vice dean of the General Hospital also walked into room 1 with gifts of thanks. Ni Rupin led the 2 principals into the room. Their faces suddenly stiffened. Soon after, he looked around the room and his nose twitched, as if he was smelling something. Yiqing Luo was puzzled and was about to ask. The strange expression on the president's face changed as he smiled amiably. Student Yiqing Luo, are you feeling better? Yiqing Luo was about to get up but was stopped by the director. You're not feeling well, so you don't have to bother about the formalities. Yiqing Luo looked at the general courtyard's smiling face and knew that this director probably needed her help with something. Student Yiqing Luo is our main academy's big hero, the hero who saved the various academies. In future when she sees us, there's no need for her to bow. Vice President chimed in from the side. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. Towards these 2 principals, Yiqing Luo didn't have any antipathy towards them. The both of them were truly thinking for the academy. They were also sincerely restricting every academy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to request for Master Ghost Marshal to provide special training for the students who were here to take part in the Academy's exchange meet. Chapter 1737. The principal and vice principal seemed to have expected that Yiqing Luo would not beat around the bush. Hearing her words, the 2 of them exchanged glances. Following that, the 2 smiling faces faced Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo. Why did she feel a chill down her spine? Why did he feel that the seemingly amiable and friendly smiles of these 2 were hiding a strong sense of conspiracy? Student Yiqing Luo, can we have a private chat? The vice principal asked with a smile. Yiqing Luo looked at Ni Ruopan who was behind the vice principal and shook her head at her. Ni Rupin bowed at the 2 elders and left the room. She even closed the door on her way out. In the room, there were only the 2 principals and the trio of Yiqing Luo left. Student Yiqing Luo, are you interested in joining the main courtyard? The principal didn't beat around the bush as he asked directly. His smiling eyes were filled with admiration towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was stunned. She had not expected the main courtyard's principal to raise such an invitation to her. Join the main courtyard. What kind of place was the main courtyard? That was the place that controlled the entire Nirvana realm and various academies. She was just a 15-year-old young lass who had yet to graduate. Join the main courtyard. Were you sure it wasn't a joke? The vice principal saw Yiqing Luo's misgivings as he smiled amiably. Of course, we are not asking you to join the main courtyard immediately. If you want to join now, we are naturally happy to do so. As for your young age and the fact that you have yet to graduate, there's no need to worry about that. Your performance in the Blazing Flame Nest was witnessed by all the students from the various academies. Even Master Gue Wu and the 5 instructors were full of praises for you. Moreover, you saved the students from the various academies, saved the main courtyard's reputation, and with your own strength, you sealed the King of Darkness's consciousness completely, and even persuaded the Overlord to help in exterminating the dark forces. This is all your credit. It's you who saved the main courtyard, saved the Nirvana realm. His every word was filled with indescribable pride. The gaze he used to look at Yiqing Luo was filled with admiration. Don't worry about your qualifications. As long as you nod your head, the various academies, including the main courtyard, will absolutely not have any objections. The vice principal continued. Looking at director and vice director's hopeful gaze, Yiqing Luo rubbed her nose as she gave a few dry laughs. The main academy was indeed the place where countless deans and elders of the academy would fight to enter. It was also the dream of countless students. But, she couldn't spend her entire life in the academy or the headquarters. The limitations were too small. She also had a group of brothers. In the future, she was bound to make a name for herself. If he confined himself to the general courtyard, she didn't get any more growth. Student Yiqing Luo. The director looked at the gleam in Yiqing Luo's eyes as he sighed softly. How would he not be able to tell Yiqing Luo's ambition? How could they not tell that Yiqing Luo's future would not be limited to the headquarters? She was an eagle spreading its wings. There was a wider world. There was a more dazzling and long-term future. But, a glint flashed across the dean's eyes, as he recalled the words that Gue Wu had said. This girl was very likely to surpass the limit of the Nirvana realm and step into the plane of the upper realm. The expression on the director's face became more resolute. Student Yiqing Luo, are you interested in the position of the general courtyard's director? This time, Yiqing Luo was completely astonished. She blinked her eyes in astonishment. The general courtyard's director. The director actually wanted to give his position to her. How much did he want her to enter the general courtyard? Chapter 1738. Lass, don't be too surprised. Vice President chuckled as he caressed Yiqing Luo's head. In this short period of time, you don't need to sit on the president's position. You can enter the headquarters as the successor, so don't have too much pressure. This was called not having too much pressure. Wasn't the pressure shocking enough? Successor to the headquarters president? Could she reject it? Lass, don't belittle the power of the headquarters. A sharp light flashed in the depths of the dean's eyes as he slowly enticed. If you enter the headquarters and become its successor, in the future, no matter where you go, as long as you are the successor of the headquarters, you can mobilize the forces of any academy to fight for you. The vice president added, including the students of any academy. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. This was indeed a temptation. Nirvana realm had 4 continents and each continent had at least hundreds of academies. If she could mobilize any school's power, that meant that no matter which corner of the world she went to, as long as she was in Nirvana realm, she could call for help anytime. President and vice president smiled at each other. This lass had a big heart, giving her a strong backing so that she could rest assured and charge forward without any hesitation, growing to a shocking extent. It was indeed the right choice. Lass, just agree to it. This is beneficial to you. Vice President took the opportunity to say. Unknowingly, their address towards her had changed from student Yiqing Luo to lass. Yiqing Luo laughed secretly. These two old men were really planning for the General Institute all the time. Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't reply, President and Vice President were getting anxious. To ordinary students, this was a joyous occasion. Even if it was other academies' presidents, they would probably abandon the academy and run over to the headquarters when they heard this news. Why did it fall on Yiqing Luo? Why did they feel a deep sense of disdain? Yiqing Luo despised the position of the headquarters successor. Such a huge temptation was placed in front of her. How could she despise it? Just as the president and vice president were in a dilemma, the silent Yiqing Luo finally opened her mouth. Entering the headquarters, it's not impossible. Upon hearing that there was hope, the vice school head's eyes lit up. You agree? Yiqing Luo shook her head. As you all know, other than being a student of the Heavenly Academy, I am also the young matriarch of the Three Springs sect. The vice principal and principal were stunned. I'm still the vice captain of the World Mercenary Group. I still have my group of brothers. If I become the successor of the General Institute, I will be irresponsible to them. Will you rest assured in letting such an irresponsible person become the successor of the General Institute? Yiqing Luo's words made the principal and vice principal speechless momentarily. What Yiqing Luo said was indeed reasonable. If he became the successor of the general courtyard, she had to focus all her attention on the general hospital. What about the Three Springs sect? What about the World Group? Making Yiqing Luo give up Three Springs sect and the World Group, choosing the headquarters. They would probably be worried again. In the future, would this girl give up on the headquarters for other reasons? With this thought in mind, the expressions of the vice school heads changed slightly. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. I have an idea, but it depends on whether the two directors agree to it or not. What idea? The vice principal looked at Yiqing Luo in unison. Chapter 1739. The World Group's Vice Group Leader. Take up residence. President and Vice President were stunned. They had not expected Yiqing Luo to raise such a request. You can just give me the status of an elder to take up residence. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she didn't see the shock on the two presidents' faces as she continued, this way, since I'm a member of your headquarters, I have not abandoned the World Group. Pausing for a moment, she gave an innocent smile. More importantly, not only can the headquarters win over a talent like me, you can also win over my brothers in the World Group. Following that, she raised her head as she blinked her innocent and pure eyes. Both presidents, do you feel that my method is awesome? President. Vice President. Their faces turned green and white. His face twitched uncontrollably. Awesome. To her, of course it was awesome. But to the headquarters, there was no benefit at all. They gave Yiqing Luo the promise of being the successor because they had their eyes on Yiqing Luo's potential. This lass, her innate talent was high, her character was good, and she had such a strong backing behind her. If she were to become the successor of the General Institute, the strength of the General Institute would definitely rise. More importantly, in the future, Yiqing Luo really fulfilled Gue Wu's prophecy. If she rose to the upper realm, their headquarters would also have an awesome character from the upper realm, solidifying their status in the Nirvana realm. This plan was well thought out by them. But Yiqing Luo totally had no intention to follow along with them. The difference between the elder and the successor was huge. The elder who was stationed could leave the headquarters anytime and anywhere. Furthermore, if they really wanted to take up residence, what was the point of bringing along the World Group? They were all a bunch of stinky brats. Their status in the world had not even stabilized yet. If they were to take up residence, they should represent Three Springs sect to show their sincerity, right? No matter what, Three Springs sect represented the entire West Continent. This lass could actually put on a serious face, innocently saying that this method was awesome. Looking at the dean and vice dean's ever-changing expressions, Zhang Xian could not help but sigh. Yiqing Luo's smile was like a flower as she blinked her pure eyes and spoke in an extremely serious tone. Of course, I will represent the world group to take up residence in the headquarters, so the treatment I will enjoy will be the same as what you gave me previously. Pfft, the vice president spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. This girl, is she really only 15 years old? He was completely sinister and cunning to the point of devouring people without spitting out the bones. He brought a bunch of unknown youngsters to settle in, and he even had to enjoy the rights and privileges of an heir. How much confidence did Yiqing Luo have to be able to say such words in such a serious manner? One had to know that not everyone could enter the headquarters. He wanted to enter the headquarters and become a member of the headquarters. They had to go through countless tests, and their comprehensive strength in all aspects had to reach the standard. From Yiqing Luo's words, why did it feel that their main courtyard was the entrance of the vegetable market? However, this girl's arrogant and egotistical manner made it hard for anyone to hate her. Instead, he had an inexplicable urge to trust her. Somehow he felt that Yiqing Luo would make such a solemn vow to raise such a request. He would definitely repay them with equal benefits. She was just a 15-year-old girl. It gave them an indescribable feeling of trust. This lass, it was really poisonous. The principal and vice principal's emotions were stirred up by Yiqing Luo until it became extremely complicated. Originally he thought that after mentioning about the successor, Yiqing Luo would definitely agree readily. He had not expected Yiqing Luo to demand such an exorbitant price. Chapter 1740. After hesitating for some time, the principal rubbed his hands together as he tried to probe. Lass, since we've already made up our minds, I have a question and you have to answer me honestly. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Principal, please ask. Imperial Tutor prophesied that the descent of the Blazing Flame Nest's divine object would cause numerous cultivators to perish in the Blazing Flame Nest. As the principal spoke, his gaze was fixated on Yiqing Luo, not letting go of any changes in her expression. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she gave a sweet smile. Amen, I've heard of it. But, ever since you entered the Blazing Flame Nest, Imperial Tutor said that the divine object's presence had already disappeared. The principal cleared his throat as he continued. That's right. The principal was just guessing. The divine object which Imperial Tutor prophesied was already in Yiqing Luo's hands. After all, this lass had created too many miracles. Even if they told him that she had really contracted the divine object which Imperial Tutor prophesied, they wouldn't be surprised. He only wanted to hear it from Yiqing Luo's own mouth. After all, the divine object which made various powerhouses and numerous cultivators risked their lives to get it. If it really fell into Yiqing Luo's hands, towards the request which Yiqing Luo had raised earlier, they could add a few more points of consideration. Yiqing Luo's pupils expanded as she put on a shocked expression. The divine object disappeared. Yiqing Luo's look made the vice principal's hopeful expression change slightly. It looked like the divine object had not fallen into Yiqing Luo's hands. Then, why did the divine object's presence in the Blazing Flame Nest disappear? Yiqing Luo restrained her gaze as she smiled slightly. She didn't want to expose the fact that Vermilion Bird was the divine object in the Blazing Flame Nest. Lass, how about this? Let us consider for a few days and it won't delay your return to Heavenly Academy. We'll give you an answer during these few days of recuperation. The principal sighed lightly as he said helplessly. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as she smiled as she nodded her head sweetly. Just like a 15-year-old young lady, what she should look like. But Yiqing Luo's earlier words simply couldn't make the principal and vice principal think of her as an innocent and naive young lady. Towards this matter, Yiqing Luo wouldn't intentionally press for an answer. After all, her request was not only ridiculous in the eyes of the general hospital, but even she herself felt that it was ridiculous. If the dean and the vice dean agreed, she was the one who was flattered. If she had said that she was representing the Three Springs sect's young sect master to enter the main courtyard, then, perhaps the dean of the general hospital had just agreed. But Three Springs sect, her scum father's Three Springs sect. She really didn't want to be involved in anything at all. Moreover, the World Group was more reliable than Three Springs sect no matter what. At least, in the future. The World Group was the #1 mercenary group in Nirvana Realm. Yiqing Luo collected her thoughts and suddenly thought of something as she asked with a smile, "That's right, Principal, where are the traitors of our Heavenly Academy being locked up?" The vice principal was still immersed in Yiqing Luo's conditions, and when he suddenly heard Yiqing Luo's question, he had yet to react in time. "You mean Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian?" The vice principal came back to his senses. Yiqing Luo nodded her head. Chapter 1741. I've heard from Ajahn that while the dark forces have basically been wiped out by the Imperial Palace, they were still able to escape with the help of the 4 great holy techniques and the 4 great pharaohs. Yiqing Luo nodded, although Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian didn't directly contact the people from the dark forces, but there should be someone who connects them. If possible, I'd like to meet the 2 of them. You were the one who captured these 2, so of course you can. The vice president nodded and said, "However, these 2 people are very stubborn. We couldn't get anything out of them." Yiqing Luo smiled. Of course, the headquarters would not be able to get anything useful out of him. Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian were 2 small fries who didn't even have the chance to show their faces in the dark faction. No matter what he asked, he couldn't get anything out of him. The reason why Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian were placed in the hands of the headquarters was because of the Imperial Academy. He just wanted to borrow the power of the headquarters. He destroyed everything that Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian had. For example, Zi Qianqian's good reputation for many years. For example, the Zi family. The news of Zi Qianqian colluding with the dark forces spread throughout the Nirvana realm. In the Nirvana realm, what other forces could tolerate the existence of the Zi clan? As for Su Xiaolian, he was just a clown cannon fodder. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes slightly, as her eyes flashed with a sliver of movement. It's not important whether he can get anything useful out of him, just treat it as meeting an old friend. There was a chill in her words. The principal and vice principal were both experienced people, so how would they not be able to tell the deep meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words? As for the private grudges between the students, unless lives were lost, they would not interfere. Moreover, Yiqing Luo's target was someone who deserved to die. They could only turn a blind eye to it. The principal and vice principal exchanged some conventional greetings with Yiqing Luo. Eventually, on seeing that the sky was getting dark, he said that he would send someone tomorrow to personally send Yiqing Luo to the underground prison and got up to leave. Long Yunzhan and the others received the news of the arrival of the deans. Seeing the dignified and complicated expressions on the principal and vice principal's faces, and the fact that they were locked in the room, they talked for about an hour. They were all extremely curious. Yiqing Luo simply told him about the transaction between her and the vice principal. Everyone finally understood the meaning behind the expressions of the principal and vice principal before they left. If it was them, their faces would probably be even uglier. Yiqing Luo was totally taking advantage of the situation to plunder, bringing along an unknown the world group to enter the headquarters, and even enjoying the benefits of being the successor of the headquarters. Such conditions. Under the heavens, Only a pervert like Yiqing Luo could say that out in a serious manner. The devil class student suddenly recalled what Shi Shanglan had told them before. Shi Shanglan said, "Your boss has already worked hard enough. There are many things that she can solve by herself. If she doesn't have to trouble her, she should try not to bother her and give her more time to rest. If you really have something you can't solve, you can also discuss it with me. I am Xiao Yi's fiancé, and I will definitely do my best to help you." Thinking of this, the devil class students felt that it was better to disperse and return to their rooms to wash up and sleep. Entering the general hospital sounded impressive, but he didn't want to cause trouble for boss. However, when the students walked out of the room, the girl lying on the bed behind him had a confident smile on her face. Her eyes were resplendent like the stars, embellishing with eye-catching brilliance. "Don't worry, in less than 5 days, the director will agree to my conditions." Chapter 1742. The hearts of the devil class's students inexplicably trembled violently. That's right, their boss would never do something he wasn't confident in. Since she made this request, there must be a way to get the headquarters to agree. When did it start? They actually started to doubt Yiqing Luo's ability. Using the excuse of not wanting to trouble Yiqing Luo and not relying on her anymore, devil class's students turned their heads back and saw the beautiful young lady on the bed, giving them a determined smile. His smile was like light, able to infect everything in the world. Instinctively, they couldn't help but raise the corners of their mouths, revealing clean smiles. "Yes. Boss Qing Luo, we believe you." At night, the night wind was slightly chilly. Yiqing Luo was in a daze when she felt a cool breeze caressing her face as her body floated lightly. After realizing something, she suddenly opened her eyes. However, he was faced with a peerless and stunning face. There were a few strands of stubble on his smooth jaw. "Ah, Xian!" Yiqing Luo called out happily. Dmo Xian did not respond to her. He just lowered his eyes and looked at her deeply. Then he raised his head and continued on his way. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes as she sensed Dmo Xian suppressing his anger. She pursed her pink lips, unable to guess Dmo Xian's thoughts. At this moment, she suddenly discovered that she was being carried in Dmo Xian's arms, running wildly in the night. Where was Xiao Xian taking her? Yiqing Luo looked at the surroundings in puzzlement. It was surrounded by a lush forest that was green in color. Dmo Xian did not ride on Little Nine. Just like that, he used his lightness skill and carried her to travel through the forest. Sensing that Dmo Xian was angry, Yiqing Luo didn't dare to open her mouth to ask and obediently nestled in his arms like a well-behaved little woman. Under the moonlight, his figure was as fast as lightning. His black hair fluttered in the wind and a few strands fell on her face. Yiqing Luo felt itchy, but she couldn't free herself to grab that strand of black hair. She twisted her little face, trying to move his ink-black hair away. The strong wind blew, making his black hair stick even tighter. The more he struggled, the more itchy his face felt. Dmo Xian, this girl was really sent by the heavens to torture him. As smart as she was, couldn't she sense that he was angry? She even dared to rub against his chest like this. Could it be LoveLore was planning to use this method to please him? This thought brushed past his mind, but was quickly rejected by Dmo Xian. His LoveLore was too careless in this aspect, and would never think of such a coquettish way to please him. He was still using his dark force and hurrying on with his journey. His beloved woman kept rubbing against his chest, moving her hands up and down. Dmo Xian's arm tightened and stopped Yiqing Luo's teasing actions. Then, he increased his speed and flew away. Yiqing Luo struggled a few times but was unable to break free from Dmo Xian's restraint. She could only give up struggling and nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, allowing him to abduct her. Anyway, they were all his men now. He could take her wherever he wanted. When the husband sings, the wife follows. She did not know how long she had been carried by Dmo Xian. By the time Yiqing Luo's feet touched the ground, she opened her sleepy eyes. In the next instant, her eyes widened in shock. She struggled free from Dmo Xian's embrace and jogged a few steps forward. Perhaps it was because she had nestled in Dmo Xian's arms for too long. The moment she ran, her legs suddenly felt weak as she fell down softly. There wasn't a panicky expression on her face, as she smiled and let her body fall into a warm embrace. Chapter 1743. Yiqing Luo knew that Dmo Xian would definitely catch her. Falling into Dmo Xian's arms, Yiqing Luo smiled as she turned around. As usual, she put her arms around Dmo Xian's neck. But this time, it was different from the past. In the past, she would automatically throw herself into his arms. It was inevitable that the man would turn from guest to host. But, her body had yet to get close to Dmo Xian's chest. Her shoulders had already been pushed away by Dmo Xian's warm large palm. His slender fingers were tightly clasped on her slender shoulders. The white uniform started to wrinkle under his fingertips. Yiqing Luo was stunned as her eyelashes fluttered as she raised her eyes to look at him. But she saw that shimmering peach blossom eyes, flashing with an extremely chilly glint. It was obvious that it was filled with rage and a few hints of coldness. Yiqing Luo was frightened by this gaze as her little face turned slightly pale as her pink lips pursed tightly. "What are you doing?" He was angry with her. She hadn't blamed him for leaving without saying goodbye. She hadn't blamed him for not staying by her side for a while longer and not waiting for her to wake up before leaving. Now he was rubbing his nose in her eyes. "Yiqing Luo, I only want to ask you one thing." Dmo Xian's voice was tense, filled with reprimand and suppressed anger. He called her by her full name. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened as her stubborn and unresigned eyes suddenly turned into panic and helplessness. She looked at his icy cold gaze in a daze as she bit her lower lip tightly. "Do you even put me in your heart?" Dmo Xian looked at her as he asked word by word. "I." Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she hurriedly spat out the words. But after spitting out the first word, the rest of the words were stuck in her throat. He was indeed angry. And indeed he should be angry. If it was her. Dmo Xian carried her on his back to do some dangerous things. Especially when she was brought back on her last breath. She would definitely fly into a rage. She knew it when she was in the dark sacred region. When she woke up, Dmo Xian would definitely fly into a rage and use his own method to punish her. But when she woke up, Dmo Xian had already left. Although she was unhappy, she also felt relieved. Unexpectedly, he still couldn't escape this calamity. "You obviously know that I'm here, but you pretend to be manipulated by the dark forces, and left with the dark forces." Dmo Xian's voice was very soft, so soft that it sounded ethereal. But when it fell into Yiqing Luo's ears, it made her entire body turn cold. "Where do you put me? Where would they put everyone? Or could it be that, from the beginning to the end, in your heart, I'm simply a dispensable existence?" Dmo Xian's voice turned increasingly icy cold. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth and wanted to explain, but she didn't know how to explain. Provoked by Dmo Xian's indifferent attitude, her eyes turned slightly red and there was even a sour feeling coming from her nose. She endured and clenched her fists. Her smooth nails pricked her own skin. She never shed tears easily, and she never felt sad easily. But standing before Dmo Xian, these simple words made her want to cry. This was indeed her fault. She was too stubborn and overestimated her abilities. Dmo Xian reprimanded her because he was worried about her. However, she was unable to suppress the sourness in her nose. Why do you always act on your own? Why do you always put yourself in danger? Do you know that based on your current ability, if you enter the dark forces alone, as long as they discover that you're not controlled by Tao Wu, you won't be able to escape from the dark forces? Chapter 1744. If I came any later. If I came any later. When Dmo Xian said this, his voice was already trembling slightly. His body was also trembling slightly. The following words, he was unable to say it out, unable to imagine. Unable to imagine the life after losing Yiqing Luo. Unable to imagine that scene. Insufferably arrogant, disdainful man. Since when was he afraid of anything? What was the fruit of worry? But today, he was so worried for her in front of her. Yiqing Luo's tears, on seeing Dmo Xian's trembling body, finally couldn't hold it in any longer as it rolled down from her eyes. He cared about her. She deeply felt it. She had never doubted that this man loved her heart. But at this moment, she deeply felt that this man especially loved her heart. Yiqing Luo pounced into his arms. Her hands tightly wrapped around his firm waist. Her face was plastered on his chest. Tears, drop by drop, wet his luxurious robe. I'm sorry. Ah, Xian, I'm sorry. She choked as she kept apologizing. I didn't take into consideration your feelings, I was self-righteous, thinking that my plan was foolproof. I overestimated my own ability. Ah, Xian, I didn't mean to make you worry. She hugged him tightly, as her lashes were wet from her tears. Dmo Xian's body stiffened slightly, the moment he felt his clothes being soaked. His eyes flashed past a glint of heartache. He raised his hand, hugging the young lady in his arms, as he sighed softly. He didn't really want to blame her. Nor did he want to scare her. But this lass. If he didn't use this method, she wouldn't be able to realize how worried he was when she put herself in danger. He could let Yiqing Luo have her own space to grow. But this space must be within the boundary that he knew. If it wasn't for the 60% safety rate and above, how could he bear to let Yiqing Luo take the risk? Ah, Xian. I'm sorry. I was only thinking of activating the connection between the Profound Phoenix Ring and the Profound Dragon Ring on the way to the Dark Forces main camp. If I go to the Dark Forces main camp, you will be able to find the Dark Forces location through the Profound Dragon Ring. When we entered the Sanctuary of Darkness, I also transmitted the scene of Pharaoh He's hand seals to you through the Profound Phoenix Ring. I thought that everything would develop according to my expectations, until you came to save me, however. I miscalculated that the King of Darkness consciousness would form a physical body due to his rage. Yiqing Luo choked on her sobs as she explained intermittently. That little sobbing voice fell into Dmo Xian's ears and it was like a fine silver needle, pricking his heart. The teardrops that fell on his chest were also heavy. He couldn't bear for her to cry, couldn't bear for her to shed tears. In the end, Dmo Xian calmed himself down and softened his tone. His arms tightened around her, holding her tightly in his embrace. His inky peach blossom eyes were surging with thick black ink, spreading out at the bottom of his eyes. I know all of this. Yes. He knew all about Yiqing Luo's plans. Yiqing Luo was willing to rely on him, and when she was in danger, she firmly believed that he would rush over in time. He was very happy. However, this trust was built on danger. But he couldn't feel happy at all. Just like what he said earlier, what if he was a step late? Not only would he let down Yiqing Luo's trust in him, Chapter 1745. There won't be a next time. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her teary eyes gazed deeply into Dmo Xian's eyes. Dmo Xian looked at the teary young lady and finally couldn't bear to say any harsh words. His slender fingers gently brushed against the hair on her forehead. His rosy red thin lips were imprinted on her forehead. The man's peerless looks were magnified at such a close distance. Yiqing Luo's face was tainted with a shade of crimson. The moonlight shone down. The man was peerless. The lady was devastatingly beautiful. No matter how one looked, it was an enviable and beautiful picture. Of course. If it wasn't for Dmo Xian who spoiled the mood. Yiqing Luo would also feel that this moment was perfect. Dmo Xian's kiss landed on Yiqing Luo's forehead. The man's deep and mellow voice seeped into her ears. If there's a next time, this lord will punish you till you can't get off the bed. Let's see how you're going to wander around outside, making me worried. Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with rejection. But due to the overlord's imposing manner, she admitted defeat and just rejected him in her heart. The injuries on your body are almost healed. Dmo Xian took her pulse. Yiqing Luo nodded. Don't doubt Ghost Doctor's medical skills. The injuries on my body are almost healed. After taking her pulse, Dmo Xian held her hands in his palm. It's not Ghost Doctor's medical skills, but the change in your physique. Yiqing Luo was at a loss. This time, the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade had a reaction on your body, but it's not entirely a bad thing. Your body's physique, after going through the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade's transformation, the external injuries on your body will heal in the shortest time possible. Dmo Xian explained in a warm voice as he looked at the young lady's sparkling eyes in his arms. His eyes were filled with warmth. Yiqing Luo nodded her head thoughtfully. No wonder, she was still bewildered. She had suffered such serious injuries in the hands of the King of Darkness. There were at least hundreds of big and small injuries. But in just a few days, more than half of the injuries on her body had disappeared. Not even a single scar was left. Now on her body, there were only a few more serious injuries on her shoulder, chest and waist which were still recovering. Since you admitted your mistake so obediently today, I will reward you well. Dmo Xian held Yiqing Luo's little hand, the other hand pointed to a place not far ahead, that is the spirit spring. Wash yourself clean first. Why did he feel that there was something strange about this sentence? Reward. Clean up. Could the reward be, wash it and eat it? Yiqing Luo admitted that at this very moment, her heart had already been tainted with the color of filth. Dmo Xian looked at her blushing little face and his eyes darkened as he leaned close to her ear and his hoarse voice contained some sort of emotion. Lil Luo, you're doing this. Are seducing me. Yiqing Luo's ears felt warm. Her delicate body suddenly trembled. Her body went limp and she fell into Dmo Xian's arms. Her little face was red with embarrassment. How did I seduce you? You're the one who conspired against me, yet you're pushing the blame to me. Although I really want to follow your heart and do what you want me to do to you. Before he could finish his words, Yiqing Luo had already flown into a rage out of embarrassment as she raised her fist and punched towards his face. A fist was stuck on Dmo Xian's thin lips. She bellowed in embarrassment and anger, "What follow my heart? I don't wish for you to do that kind of thing to me." Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with smiles. His soft tongue suddenly stuck out as it swept past every single one of her fingers. Chapter 1746. I didn't say anything, why are you in such a hurry to deny it? Dmo Xian's eyes were smiling. Yiqing Luo's cheeks turned redder. Seriously acting like a hooligan, she was convinced by Dmo Xian. He only knew how to tease her, tease her, tease her. tease her pink bubbles all over the place. One day, she would fight back and make Dmo Xian blush. She flew into a rage out of humiliation. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and pushed Dmo Xian away. I'm going to soak in the spirit spring. Saying that, she rushed to the spirit spring not far ahead. When she arrived at the spirit spring, she was shocked by the spirit spring. This was a high mountain. The surrounding mountains towered into the clouds, forming a natural spirit spring. The surface of the spirit spring was surrounded by a thin layer of mist. The mist swirled and rolled. Feeling the warm breath from the spirit spring, Yiqing Luo's eyes revealed a look of surprise. She couldn't wait to jump into the spirit spring and wash off all the sweat on her body. But, with this rush, she once again fell back weakly. Once again, she fell into Dmo Xian's arms. She blinked her eyes, a little embarrassed. My legs are a little uncomfortable, I'll help you wash them. The man's low voice was like a cool breeze. The next moment, Yiqing Luo's body was light, she was already in Dmo Xian's arms. Yiqing Luo instinctively wrapped her arms around his neck. From this angle, Dmo Xian's peerless face under the moonlight looked even more extraordinary, like a banished immortal. Especially that pair of peach blossom eyes, projecting the afterglow of the moonlight. It made him look extremely evil. Even Yiqing Luo lost her soul under the bewilderment of this face. Do I look good? Dmo Xian's rosy lips curved slightly, smiling extremely seductively. Yiqing Luo's eyes almost fell on Dmo Xian. Ah Xian, I'm telling you, I'll sleep you to death like this. Sleep. Dmo Xian's smile became even more evil. Okay, I'll let you sleep. Yiqing Luo admitted defeat, she shouldn't threaten a beast like this. Dmo Xian carried her and walked slowly to the spirit spring. He bent down and was about to step into the spirit spring. Yiqing Luo's little hand grabbed his arm anxiously. Wait a minute. Dmo Xian stopped in his tracks, his long and narrow peach blossom eyes outlined a devilish curve. He said nothing. He looked at her silently with such a gaze. It was enough to make Yiqing Luo's cheeks flush red. I'm really. She forced herself not to be seduced by the handsome man. Let yourself drown in the spiritual spring. Dmo Xian interrupted her words, his tone was firm and unquestionable. You're not well, I won't touch you. Yiqing Luo blushed. She was not worried that Dmo Xian would make a move on her. She was afraid, with his help, she wouldn't be able to hold herself back. This was a living devil, and he was flirting with her in all kinds of ways, seducing her. How could she hold herself back? Are you going to wash or not? Dmo Xian Tao's eyes were glistening and dazzling, smiling devilishly. Yiqing Luo clenched her fists, closed her eyes and gritted her teeth. Wash. Ah Xian is bathing me, why shouldn't I bathe? If she couldn't hold herself back, then she couldn't. It wasn't like she hadn't slept with Dmo Xian before. At most, she would sleep with him again. She could even have a spirit spring play. But, this decision, after entering the water, Yiqing Luo regretted it. She knew that Dmo Xian was a devil. But she didn't know that Dmo Xian would be such a devil after entering the water. Yiqing Luo's eyes shone like a wolf, staring at Dmo Xian without blinking. She couldn't hold it anymore. What to do? She really wanted to forcefully sleep with Dmo Xian. What to do? Chapter 1747. Lil Luo, your eyes. Dmo Xian's low chuckle came into her ears. He leaned over and whispered in her ear, like, you want to sleep with me very much. As he leaned over, his wet robe immediately opened up, revealing his strong and fair chest. The moonlight poured down, it was still tempting her to pounce forward and bite him. The wolf in Yiqing Luo's eyes was even more intense, the blood in her chest was boiling. She gritted her teeth, and with her eyes, she glared fiercely at Mystic Fairy Dmo. Yes. I can't wait to sleep with you now. Her body had already been steadily placed into the spirit spring. The warm spring water soaked her whole body. Yiqing Luo's tensed-up emotions, at this instance, suddenly relaxed. She leaned softly in Dmo Xian's arms, closed her eyes, and gave a comfortable sigh. Dmo Xian deliberately suppressed his voice, like a feather, constantly teasing Yiqing Luo's heart. Then you can only think about it. Think. Think about what? Yiqing Luo's throat rolled as she turned to look at Dmo Xian blankly. When she met that pair of peach blossom eyes that were filled with ridicule, she suddenly reacted. She said, she couldn't wait to sleep with Dmo Xian. He said, can only think about it. Ha ha ha. Now you're teasing me with great enthusiasm. Damn, don't beg to climb into my bed in the future. Don't beg me to sleep with you. Yiqing Luo snorted, arrogantly turned her head and wholeheartedly soaked in the bath, too lazy to care about this narcissistic man. When she put all her attention on herself, Yiqing Luo's originally blushing face became even redder. Previously she was red because of Dmo Xian's teasing. Now she was red because she was embarrassed by herself. Since her body was submerged in the spirit spring. With her as the center, the surface of the water was filled with circles of black sewage. Yes, it was sewage. Around her body, the originally clear spirit spring had turned into black sewage. What was going on? As if feeling the change in Yiqing Luo's mood, Dmo Xian raised his hand, his slender fingers, flicked lightly on the surface of the water. The dirty water instantly dissipated. There was a clear spirit spring with smoke curling up from it. Yiqing Luo had yet to say a word. In the next moment, the clear spring water turned dirty again. However, compared to the filth just now, it was obviously a little cleaner now. Yiqing Luo. Why did it feel like it was even more of a blow? Just how dirty was she? Only then could the spirit spring become dirty water. You haven't touched water since you fainted. Dmo Xian looked at Yiqing Luo's distressed look as though she had suffered a huge blow, and his shimmering peach blossom eyes flashed past a warm smile. These few days, Ghost Doctor has treated you, and with the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade improving your physique, the toxins and undesirable factors in your body have all been expelled. Yiqing Luo, he hadn't bathed for a few days, and he had even expelled a large amount of toxins and undesirable factors from his body. It was no wonder that the spirit spring was polluted. At this moment, Yiqing Luo was also aware of the fishy stench on her body, how thick and how intoxicating it was. After waking up, she had already gotten used to the smell on her body, so she didn't feel much about it. Now that he was soaking in the spirit spring, the smell was even more distinct and seeping into his nose. She was actually so smelly. She was about to faint from the stench. No wonder when the vice president entered her room, his face revealed such a strange expression. Chapter 1748. Yiqing Luo expressed that under such a smelly situation, Dmo Xian could still carry her and fly for several hours without any change in his expression. How on earth did he endure this stench? A certain man had completely guessed Yiqing Luo's thoughts. He leaned over and rested his chin on her delicate shoulder as he whispered in her ear, "Because it's you." Damn it. Flirting with her again. The pink bubbles were boiling again. Yiqing Luo blushed and sank her body into the water. The splashing water splashed onto Dmo Xian. These 4 words could really poke her little heart. Now her heart was thumping non-stop and couldn't slow down at all. Yiqing Luo threw herself into the water. Her body couldn't bear the force and almost fell into the spirit spring. Dmo Xian's eyes and hands were sharp as he stretched out his hand to catch her waist. Yiqing Luo's delicate body was stuck to his hard and hot chest. Both of their clothes were completely soaked. Her delicate body was stuck to him as if she wasn't wearing any clothes. You can stay aside, I can do it myself. Yiqing Luo's delicate body was stiff and didn't dare to lean into his arms. The spirit spring was slightly hot. But that boiling hot chest was burning her skin. Dmo Xian tightened his arms and raised his brows slightly. Do you really want to drown? The white mist curled up and his voice sounded a little empty. Yiqing Luo thought of herself, it seemed that her legs were indeed weak. If Dmo Xian wasn't supporting her from behind, she might really drown. She was afraid that she couldn't control herself. If not, she couldn't bear the stench. The expression on Yiqing Luo's face kept changing. Dmo Xian's smile became more and more intense. Circling Yiqing Luo's waist, his other hand pressed her head onto his chest. Immediately, he scooped up a handful of water and wet her hair. His slender fingers gently ran through her hair and rubbed her scalp. His fingertips gently rubbed her scalp. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel the gentle strength of his fingertips. He was washing her hair. Yiqing Luo slowly closed her eyes as her lips curled into a blissful smile. After a short while, Dmo Xian began to clean the honey locust in her hair. The warm water soaked through her hair and slid into their clothes that clung tightly to their bodies. Yiqing Luo's face leaned against his chest. She could clearly feel the scorching heat coming from his chest. The temperature was even hotter than when she was in his arms. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as a trace of craftiness flashed past her eyes. It seemed like she wasn't the only one who couldn't control herself. Didn't this sanctimonious man, who had been acting like a hooligan with a straight face from the beginning, also have a reaction? What a hypocrite! Yiqing Luo spat out these 3 words in her heart as the arc on her lips deepened. She wanted to see how long Dmo Xian could endure for. Following that, Yiqing Luo's curved brows revealed a trace of teasing. Xian, since we've entered the water together, why not? Let's have a bath together. The fingers that were washing her hair suddenly paused. Yiqing Luo smiled even more coquettishly. Xian, don't be shy. It's not like I haven't seen your body before. Don't be shy how unrestrained you can be. The hand that was washing her hair moved again. It continued to gently wash the honey locust in her hair. He was washing extremely seriously. Almost every strand of hair was brushed past. After Yiqing Luo teased a few words, she didn't get any response from Dmo Xian. After being high for a long time, it became boring. She simply shut her mouth. Chapter 1749. The warm water covered every inch of her skin. Her hands were pressed against the stone cliff in front of her. The stone cliff was extremely smooth and didn't burn her hands. Before Yiqing Luo could react, she heard the sound of water splashing beside her ear. The water splashed, and the droplets of water hit her body. Yiqing Luo steadied herself and was curious about what Dmo Xian wanted to do. Turning her head, Yiqing Luo almost spurted out a fountain of blood from her nose. Her eyes widened as she stared at Dmo Xian without blinking. She was practically glued to his body. At this moment, Dmo Xian stood facing the moonlight. His black hair crown had long been untied and gently stuck to his body. That peerless, demonic, and enchanting face was covered by the water droplets. Yiqing Luo's heart was thumping non-stop. She couldn't wait to pounce forward and lick that water droplet into her mouth. What made Yiqing Luo's heart beat faster was the wet purple robe that stuck to his body. The outline of his muscular body was extremely clear. His waist and abdomen were tight with smooth muscle lines. Under the moonlight, it was clear to the eye. In particular, the moonlight made his skin look extremely fair, adding an unconcealable charm. This evildoer, bewitching to the extreme. So bewitching that no one could resist such temptation. Yiqing Luo thought that her current look must be like a hungry animal who had been starved for countless days. She couldn't hide the wolf's glint in her eyes even if she wanted to. Yiqing Luo swallowed her saliva and forcibly used her willpower to tell herself to calm down and not to pounce on a handsome man. At least, before Dmo Xian gave in, she had to be reserved. However, at this moment, some evildoers seemed to want to challenge Yiqing Luo's endurance. His slender fingers touched the belt of his robe. With a gentle tug, the purple robe slipped into the water. Following that was his underwear. After that, his unconcealed muscular body was revealed in front of Yiqing Luo's eyes. The taut string in Yiqing Luo's brain snapped with a "gotcha" sound. F***ck F***ck. This was too against the rules. You can't use the seduction in this way. Yiqing Luo was already in a daze. Her line of sight followed that tensile line, inch by inch down, below. Why are they all blocked by the water? Little Luo, come here. Dmo Xian's bewitching voice was extremely magnetic. He raised his hand and waved towards Yiqing Luo. Water droplets slid down his taut muscles. Yiqing Luo swallowed a mouthful of saliva as she was unable to control her own body as she walked towards Dmo Xian's direction, step by step. Just as he took a step, Yiqing Luo's body went limp as she fell forward. Her lips landed on a piece of burning skin. The feeling of the light abyss fruit's muscles scorched Yiqing Luo's lips. She blushed and pushed him away. You! What are you doing? Didn't you say you wouldn't let me sleep? Why are you taking off your clothes? Dmo Xian tightened his arms and supported her body while his other hand started to undress her. Yiqing Luo shuddered. You even took off my clothes. Do you bathe with your clothes on? Dmo Xian forcefully grabbed her arm, raising his eyebrows to tease her. Alright, she did have to take off her clothes to bathe. But. In this atmosphere, a man and a woman taking off their clothes seemed a little strange. Wasn't he unable to control himself? The moment he took off his clothes, wouldn't he be unable to control himself even more? Raise your hand. Dmo Xian's low voice was ethereal and pleasant to the ears, teasing Yiqing Luo's heartstrings. Chapter 1750. Dmo Xian tore off the wet clothes that stuck to his body. A gentle breeze blew, and her delicate body, which was covered in water droplets, trembled slightly in the wind. Yiqing Luo suddenly sobered up. Her eyes, which had been bewitched by his charm, regained their clarity. She lowered her head and looked at her almost naked body. With a splash, he buried himself in the spirit spring. The splashing water splashed on the two of them. The gravity of being buried in the water made Yiqing Luo's body instinctively fall forward. Yiqing Luo immediately stretched out her hand and hugged onto Dmo Xian's tight waist as she buried her entire head. Yiqing Luo's face bumped into the spot 3 inches below Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's body suddenly stiffened. Yiqing Luo only felt that her face had bumped against an extremely hard object, causing her to grimace in pain as she struggled to get up from Dmo Xian's arms. Fortunately, her face was real. Otherwise, I'll have to get a new one if I get hit in any minute. She flopped. The man, who caught her firmly, tensed up. Even in the water, Yiqing Luo could feel that the temperature on Dmo Xian's body was gradually rising. The next moment, her body was grabbed by Dmo Xian's broad palm. She was pressed into his arms. 2 naked bodies touched skin to skin. The scorching temperature was like balls of blazing flames, burning between the two of them. Yiqing Luo's delicate body stiffened. He couldn't hold it in anymore. Didn't he say he wouldn't touch her? Don't tell me. Don't tell me I'm really going to use the spirit spring play. Oh, Lu. She refused. Last time, it was such a good start, process, but she was practically hovering between life and death, this time at the spirit spring. She would definitely be hovering between life and death. Although she really wanted to sleep Dmo Xian till he was hovering between life and death, but right now, this kind of wild fun absolutely could not happen. Yiqing Luo had not thought of what to say to dispel Dmo Xian's idea. Dmo Xian bent over and gave a low laugh. Luo, can't wait to swallow me into his stomach. F***ck. Was there a need to be so shameless? He was obviously the one who couldn't control himself now. How could he push the blame to such a pure girl like her? Do you know, where did you hit me with your face earlier? Dmo Xian whispered again, bewitching her. When he bent down, his black hair, which was stained with water droplets, accidentally landed on her bare back and rubbed against her skin. As he spoke, his thin lips purposely brushed past her earlobe. A two-pronged approach. Yiqing Luo's breathing grew heavier. After much difficulty digesting Dmo Xian's question, she panted and tried to maintain her consciousness. I haven't said anything about you. Why are your muscles so hard? If my beautiful face is damaged, you can afford it. He didn't even have the time to shout out the last word. Yiqing Luo seemed to have thought of something. His entire face instantly turned the color of pig liver. She just bumped into, could it be a man's thing? Yiqing Luo lowered her head in a probing manner. But the mist of the spiritual spring was too hazy, she couldn't see it. She could only lift her head up weakly and looked at Dmo Xian's eyes with some uncertainty. Did I bump into something that shouldn't be? Bumped into something. Yiqing Luo said the last three words very carefully. However, Dmo Xian only looked at her with a smile that didn't look like a smile. That mischievous charm in his eyes couldn't be concealed at all. Their eyes met and after a moment, he raised his brows frivolously. Chapter 1751. Yiqing Luo. Recalling the hardness earlier. She seemed to have really gotten into trouble. Luo, do you still remember what I said earlier? Looking at Yiqing Luo's embarrassed look, Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with ridicule. Yiqing Luo's mind was buzzing as she didn't dare to raise her head. You're in charge of stirring up the fire, so you should be in charge of extinguishing it. His voice suddenly got nearer. His warm breath was exhaled into her ears. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled slightly as her eyelashes were stained with a thin layer of moisture. This fellow's method of teasing her was getting more and more adept. He totally knew how to tease her, making her unable to resist at all. Yiqing Luo's face flushed red in embarrassment as she gritted her teeth and stared at him. But the man's bewitching expression had stirred her little heart. That peerless face, the contour was deep and devilish, rosy red lips, light and soft, outlined an evil smirk. It was this smirk which made him appear even more seductive. His peach blossom eyes were deep and dark, like the twinkling stars in the sky, extremely dazzling. Her breathing was slightly heavier as she panted lightly. Her body was also softening as she leaned tightly into Dmo Xian's arms. Her consciousness was pulling away. She couldn't take it anymore, she couldn't hold on any longer. She wanted to pounce on this evildoer. Then sleep with him, sleep with him, sleep with him. Dmo Xian looked at her pair of wolf's eyes as his eyes overflowed with smiles. He tightened his arms and pressed Yiqing Luo's body down. Yiqing Luo's back, pressed against the icy cold stone. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled slightly and subconsciously, the man's scorching body had already covered her. A warm kiss landed on her lips. The rich male hormone scent made Yiqing Luo's eyes filled with a layer of haziness. Previously she was still reserved and wanted to reject him. After this kiss, she was completely unrestrained. Alright, this was her evildoer. If you want to play in a hot spring, then play in a hot spring. At most she would lie on the bed for another day tomorrow to recuperate. Just as Yiqing Luo stretched out her arms, taking the initiative to hug the man's body. Dmo Xian suddenly released her lips as he slowly straightened his body. Before Yiqing Luo could react, Dmo Xian had already pulled her along and spun one round. Her back was facing Dmo Xian. The man's slender fingers began to gently wipe her body. Wait a minute, what the hell was going on? Wasn't he ready to play? All of a sudden, Dmo Xian was helping her bathe. What was going on? While Yiqing Luo was still puzzled, she suddenly felt her acupuncture points tighten. She immediately let out a moan of comfort. That voice sounded a little shameful no matter how one listened to it. Dmo Xian actually. He was actually massaging her acupoints again. It was also commonly known as a massage. Yiqing Luo was terrified to let an overlord serve her like this. Before he could stop it, Dmo Xian increased the strength in his hand. Yiqing Luo sprawled onto Shi Yan. Dmo Xian's fingers seemed to have magical powers. Wherever it went, it made her feel relaxed. The soreness from lying on the bed for a few days without moving also disappeared in an instant. Soaking in the hot spring, there was even a massage. This comfortable feeling made Yiqing Luo unable to open her mouth to reject Dmo Xian's service. Not knowing how long had passed, Yiqing Luo was already drowsy. Her body suddenly felt light. Yiqing Luo opened her misty eyes in shock. She met with a pair of glass-like peach blossom eyes. That pair of eyes seemed to condense a whirlpool. Her heart and soul were deeply captivated. Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. Tightly, she reacted. Chapter 1752. Xian. Was it about to start? Wasn't he going to play in the hot spring? Was he going to play in the wild? Yiqing Luo held on to Dmo Xian's arm uneasily. The water droplets on both of them formed a flower pattern on the ground. The next moment, Yiqing Luo's body was wrapped with a white soft cloth. Wrapping Yiqing Luo tightly in it. Don't catch a cold. Dmo Xian gathered her wet hair. I'll wipe it for you. He said wipe. It was really just wiping. And it was extremely meticulous, without any feelings. After wiping her body up and down, not letting a single drop of water go, Dmo Xian took out a red robe from the profound dragon ring and helped Yiqing Luo change into it. His action of helping her put on the robe was a little unfamiliar. But it was still orderly in the chaos, helping Yiqing Luo put on the red robe neatly. Yiqing Luo. Not sleeping anymore. Not playing anymore. Feeling disappointed. Dmo Xian helped her fasten the last belt. His brows were filled with a dazzling smile. Yiqing Luo's face turned red as she shook her head and retorted, "You're the one who's disappointed. And I'm very disappointed that I can't let you sleep." Dmo Xian answered honestly. So honest that Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder as she had no words to refute. She kept cursing in her heart, gritting her teeth, "I'm ready to sleep with you. But you keep refusing to sleep. Refuse to sleep. Refuse to sleep. What's there to talk about disappointment now?" Looking at Yiqing Luo's obviously raging to the heavens, with a look of dissatisfaction, Dmo Xian cupped her face with both hands, forcing her gaze to meet his. Dmo Xian laughed helplessly. Your body is not suitable to bear and be in need. Yiqing Luo was about to get angry, but when she heard his words, she was stunned. Her body. Your body is not fully recovered yet, it will be completely healed in these few days. Dmo Xian's fingers caressed her narrow long eyes. Lil Luo, I'm more uncomfortable than you. Yiqing Luo's cheeks turned red as she lowered her head and punched him. I'm not enduring. Her heart, however, was gradually filled with warmth from his gentle words. His expectations were low. She could clearly feel the impact just now. The temperature of his body also clearly showed his desire. However, he still suppressed this feeling. He was serving her without a trace of affection. It was because her body had not fully recovered yet. Indeed. If she was here right now and slept with Dmo Xian, in the end, she would definitely be hovering between life and death by Dmo Xian. Then, he would have to lie in bed for another 3 to 5 days. Dmo Xian had considered all these. For the sake of her body, he suppressed his desire. Bathe her. For her body to ease the exhaustion. Wipe her body. Dress her. If he didn't truly love her, how could he do this? This man, every time, he would inadvertently stir up her love for him. Dmo Xian carried her and walked towards the other side of the mountain not far from the spirit spring. Turning a corner, Yiqing Luo saw, under the cover of the intricate mountain peaks, was a cold stone bed. Dmo Xian flew up and leapt onto the stone bed, sitting cross-legged. Yiqing Luo's body was laid down flat. Her head, pillowed on his knees. Her wet hair instantly soaked the pants he had just changed into. Dmo Xian's fingers gently entered her hair. Droplets of water rose. Chapter 1753. Yiqing Luo felt the moderately hot hair dryer blowing her hair. Strands of hair twined around Dmo Xian's fingertips. His gentle fingertips caressed her hair gently. She couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ah Xian, if other profound practitioners saw you expending profound energy like this, they would definitely vomit blood out of anger. A world where the strong were respected. Profound Qi was the supreme representation of power. Dmo Xian actually used the supreme representative to dry her hair. Dmo Xian's lips curled upwards, his magnificence unmatched. For you, it's not considered a waste. Alright, he's flirting with me again. Yiqing Luo moved her body and leaned into Dmo Xian's embrace. Shuangku opened her arms and hugged his waist, leaning her face on his waist. Her nostrils were filled with his scent. It was reassuring and warm. The man's fingertips slid through her hair. He combed her hair gently. This warmth lasted for the time it took for an incense stick to burn. Yiqing Luo's hair was completely dry. Yiqing Luo was about to get up from his lap. Her body was pressed down by his hand. Then, his slender fingers circled around her neck. There seemed to be something cold on his neck. He had already withdrawn his hand. Before I obtain the heart-calming bead, don't let this jade pendant leave your body. Jade pendant. Yiqing Luo looked down. Sure enough, he saw an emerald-like jade bead hanging from his neck. It was about the size of half a finger, and its entire body was emerald green without any impurities. Faintly, there was a flickering light which Yiqing Luo was unable to understand. This jade pendant can temporarily suppress your profound jade heart's abnormal movements. Dmo Xian explained when he saw her finger hooking the jade pendant. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes, as though she thought of something. After Master Ghost Doctor performed acupuncture on me, the words you asked Master Ghost Doctor for a chat, was it because of this jade pendant? Dmo Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes. At that time, weren't you unconscious? Yiqing Luo was embarrassed as she grabbed Dmo Xian's arm, trying her best to make herself look more confident. After I woke up, I didn't see you by my side, so you specially went to retrieve this jade pendant, right? If that was not the case. After disappearing for a day, Dmo Xian would not still have such a decadent appearance. His beard was unshaven. Her crown was a little loose. Exhaustion could be seen on his face. His eyes were turning green. He stayed by her bedside for 3 days and 3 nights before rushing off to retrieve the jade pendant. He had not rested at all. She was still throwing a tantrum, feeling that Dmo Xian wasn't by her side to complete the romance she wanted. This man gave her. It had already far surpassed the so-called romance. What he gave her was his heart. Silly, I have old man Sang with me, even if I'm a little late in retrieving this jade pendant, it doesn't matter. Yiqing Luo straightened her body from his embrace. She reached out and held his peerlessly handsome face. Even if he was slightly dispirited, he was still as handsome as a banished immortal. Yiqing Luo's fingers, bit by bit, traced his contour, her brows became gentle, her long and narrow eyes curved. Ah Xian, thank you, luckily. Let me meet you. Dmo Xian gently stroked her hair and hugged the girl in his arms tightly. Her silky black hair was extremely soft. Dmo Xian's eyes were smiling as he replied warmly, if you really want to thank me, then quickly recuperate your body, and then do what you want to do to me. What she wanted to do to Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo's cheeks suddenly flushed red. This man, the matter of sleeping with him, had already turned over the page. He even intentionally brought it up. Did he really couldn't wait to be slept by her? Chapter 1754. By the time Yiqing Luo was carried back to the Sky Dormitory, it was already past midnight. By then, Devil Classes students were already doing their morning exercises. The news of Boss Qing Luo being abducted by the Overlord for an entire night quickly spread among the Devil Classes students. Even the students in the other Sky dormitories had heard about it. That day, Yiqing Luo finished her breakfast under everyone's teasing gazes. She had an unbearable urge to explode. Damn it, it wasn't the first time she was abducted by Dmo Xian and disappeared for an entire night. Was there a need to be so agitated? She and Dmo Xian had a legitimate relationship as lovers. Using the words of this era, that was the relationship of fiancé and fiancée. Sooner or later, they would get married. Even if they disappeared for an entire night, it was a very normal thing. Moreover, nothing happened between them last night. It was just a simple soak in the bath and a hug. The most overboard thing was just kissing. Was there a need to create an uproar and attract attention? Of course, those who teased her were her own brothers. Her own brothers couldn't take her anger. So angry, she had to find someone to appease her anger. Thinking of what the vice president had promised her yesterday, Yiqing Luo decided that she would go to the dungeon and find 2 little cannon fodder to vent her anger. After all, those 2 little cannon fodder had created quite a lot of trouble for her in the blazing flame nest. This time she almost lost her life in the battle with the King of Darkness, and it was definitely because of the involvement of these 2 cannon fodder. If they died too simply, too easily, wouldn't that be letting them off easy? Hence, Yiqing Luo threw her bowl and chopsticks aside as she pulled the elegant man beside her and dashed towards the direction of the dungeon. After soaking in the spirit spring last night, coupled with Dmo Xian's use of profound qi and special massage skills, Yiqing Luo was in a state of full health today. Her mental strength was great. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian had just arrived at the dungeon when the 2 guards at the entrance immediately bowed respectfully. Apparently the vice president had informed them beforehand. A guard led the both of them into the dungeon. The dungeon was dark, giving off a sinister and damp atmosphere. The design of the main courtyard's dungeon was extremely complicated. When he reached the end of the dungeon, he saw a guard stop and step into the last cell. Then, he lightly clasped the chains of the cell. The sound was very rhythmic, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. After knocking a few times, the walls of the cage suddenly opened to both sides. Two guards walked out and glanced at the guard in the cage. The two of them exchanged a few words in a low voice, and the two guards looked towards Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian. Even though they were well trained, the two guards could not help but feel a little dazed. The man's purple robe fluttered in the wind, making him look like an immortal. Even though he was in the dark dungeon, the light that enveloped his body was still dazzling. The woman's red dress was like fire, and her eyebrows were like a painting. Even in this colding dungeon, she was still like the goddess of the ninth heaven, peerlessly beautiful. When the two of them stood together, they were simply a match made in heaven. With one look, one could tell that he was no ordinary person. Were these two the important figures that the principal had personally come to inform that he would be coming to the dungeon? The two guards immediately became respectful and bowed to the two of them. "Please follow us." Following the two guards, they stepped into the dungeon. After several turns, they finally saw two iron cages suspended in mid-air in a rather desolate and simple direction. Below the iron cages was a huge poison cave. Chapter 1755. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. The guard acutely noticed the change in Yiqing Luo's expression as he took a look at the poison cave and immediately reacted. He took out a medicine bottle from his interspatial pocket. "I'm sorry, sirs, it's rare for outsiders to enter the underground prison, so I forgot to pass the antidote to both of you." Yiqing Luo took a look at the medicine bottle and ignored it. She walked straight ahead. Inside the poison cave, the densely packed squirming poisonous creatures could be seen in full view. What poisonous snakes and insects! As long as it was poisonous, it was all mixed in the poison cave. Anyone who saw it would feel their scalp going numb. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change. As though it sensed someone approaching, the iron cage shook a few times in mid-air, giving out an ear-piercing collision sound. "Let me out! Let me out! I don't know anything. I really don't know anything." This was Zi Qianqian's voice. It was no longer the usual aloof and melodious voice. But it was extremely hoarse, angry, and filled with hatred. It could be seen that in the past few days of being imprisoned, her voice had already turned hoarse from all the shouting. Zi Qianqian rushed to the front of the iron cage as both her hands held onto the icy cold iron tube. The iron cage that was suspended in the air suddenly tilted down in response to her movements. Zi Qianqian let out a panicked "aw." The entire iron cage flipped in mid-air. Zi Qianqian was riddled with injuries as she hit the iron tube, screaming hoarsely in pain. Su Xiaolian, who was in the other iron cage, heard the sound. She immediately moved her body carefully, wanting to see clearly who it was that had come. But every time she moved, the iron cage would give out an ear-piercing sound. She was afraid and didn't dare to move. A weak voice was heard from the iron cage, "I beg you, let me go. This is all Zi Qianqian's plot, I was only following her orders." "Slut! You're talking nonsense. It's obviously you. It's you," Zi Qianqian retorted frantically. Hearing the two of them scolding each other in the iron cage. Their voices were extremely hoarse, but in order to survive, they still tried their best to scold the other party. Yiqing Luo dug her ears impatiently. The guard by the side cleverly took out a long whip and whipped the iron cage twice. The iron cage shook from side to side. There was a creaking sound as if the cage would fall in the next moment. One had to know that there was a poison cave below the cage. Once they fell down, they would be devoured by those poisonous creatures in minutes, leaving not even their bones behind. Shut up. If you dare to disturb the two sirs, I'll feed you to the poison cave right now. The guard berated in a stern voice. Their screams came to an abrupt end. Another guard moved a table and 2 chairs over with great foresight. The tables and chairs were wiped clean without a speck of dust. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian sat down. The iron cage shook for a while before it gradually calmed down. Zi Qianqian's body trembled as he stuttered, "My lord. My lord, please let me go. I really don't know anything. I was framed." Yiqing Luo raised her brows as a trace of ridicule flashed past her eyes. His life was about to end. Zi Qianqian really cherished his life. In order to survive. Her pride and arrogance could be thrown to the back of her head. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the shaking iron cage and the woman's hysterical cries. She chuckled and slowly opened her mouth. "Student Zi Qianqian, were you framed? Why don't you tell me, who framed you, perhaps? On account of us being classmates, I can spare your cheap life." The 2 iron cages shook slightly and instantly fell straight down. Chapter 1756. The dungeon was silent for a moment. The 2 cages shook violently at the same time. The 2 of them didn't care about the shaking of the iron cage and directly rushed to the side of the iron cage. He gripped the metal pipe tightly with both hands and looked down. Indeed, they saw Yiqing Luo leisurely and contented, holding her teacup in a dignified and elegant manner, looking at them with a light smile. The anger in his heart and the grievances he had suffered over the past few days. In an instant, it shot up into the air. Zi Qianqian's eyes were scarlet red and his gaze was vicious as he stared at Yiqing Luo with extreme hatred. His hoarse voice was hysterical as he screamed, "Slut! You bitch! You set me up! How dare you appear here?" An intense hatred filled Zi Qianqian's heart. For Zi Qianqian. It was all Yiqing Luo's fault that she had turned from a high and mighty heaven's proud daughter to a prisoner. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo, she would still be the genius who was praised by everyone. Zi Qianqian didn't care about the swaying of the iron cage as he sprawled by the side of the cage and pointed at Yiqing Luo, calling her slut over and over again, venting the anger in his heart. On the other side of the cage, Su Xiaolian heard Yiqing Luo's voice and her entire body instantly turned cold. He then heard Zi Qianqian's hysterical and angry roar. Su Xiaolian didn't need to climb to the front to know, the person who was watching them from below was Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, it was Yiqing Luo. He recalled the respectful voice of the guard who called him Lord. Su Xiaolian's heart sank. "Your Excellency," the madam in the guard's words, was referring to Yiqing Luo. In just a few short days, Yiqing Luo's status in the South Waves continent was already able to make the guards in this underground dungeon in the headquarters respect her so much. Su Xiaolian's heart thumped. Su Xiaolian clenched her fists tightly and took a deep breath. "Student Yiqing Luo, Student Yiqing Luo. I'll tell you everything that I know. Please let me go. I was threatened by that slut Zi Qianqian. You know that slut Zi Qianqian always uses her power to bully others. I'm just an ordinary commoner, there's nothing I can do." Su Xiaolian's words were immediately met with a torrent of abuse from Zi Qianqian. However, Su Xiaolian didn't respond at all and maintained her silence. The guard whipped Zi Qianqian's iron cage. Zi Qianqian's hand, which was resting on the iron pipe, was struck by the whip. He screamed in pain. The entire iron cage was in a state of constant shaking. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she looked at this dog-eat-dog drama in a calm and composed manner. She put down the teacup and yawned lazily. Bored? Dmo Xian glanced over, his brows filled with a warm smile. Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly. These two cannon fodders are too much, they don't even have the right to make me appease my anger. You didn't come here to vent your anger, right? Dmo Xian laughed softly. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as her body laid limply on the table. One hand had already passed through the table and hooked onto Dmo Xian's arm. Ah, Xian still understands me best. Her posture was extremely seductive. The girl's fragrance entered his nose. This made Dmo Xian recall last night, the enchanting scene in the spirit spring. Dmo Xian's blood rushed to his head and his throat tightened. He turned his hand and locked onto Yiqing Luo's wrist. He pulled her violently. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly fell into Dmo Xian's arms. Yiqing Luo's face flushed red as she raised her eyes and stared at him. We're doing proper business, don't get touchy. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes narrowed. Who made the first move? Chapter 1757. Enchanting's voice turned hoarse as she lay prone in the shaking iron cage. She was fed a mouthful of dog food by Yiqing Luo. The anger and hatred in her heart was even more uncontrollable. She lay prone at this angle of the iron cage. Coincidentally, she could see the two of them snuggling together in the dungeon. Just like a pair of immortal lovers. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, exuding an enviable sweet atmosphere. What made Enchanting most jealous was, it was that man. The man who looked at Yiqing Luo lovingly. That man was as handsome as a deity. Noble and elegant, every move he made cast a dazzling light. No matter how one looked at him, he was definitely a person of status. Compared to Nangong Firen, he was even more outstanding. Such an outstanding man should belong to her, Enchanting. She was harmed by Yiqing Luo and ended up in such a state. Yiqing Luo, on the other hand, was elated. She was respected by everyone and had such an outstanding man. Based on what? She was not reconciled. She was absolutely not reconciled. Enchanting's eyes flashed a trace of extremely cold hostility. Her bloodied and scarred fingers clenched into a fist. I want to see the dean, I want to tell him everything I know. Enchanting shouted in a hoarse voice. The guard looked impatient. Do you think you can see the dean whenever you want? If there's anything, tell the two sirs directly. Enchanting didn't say a word. It seemed that as long as the dean didn't come, she would rather die than speak. This made the guard a little distressed. When locking up a prisoner, the most frightening thing was that the prisoner was not afraid of death. The most important thing was, if Enchanting really knew something, they would have already killed him. That would be a huge sin. Yiqing Luo raised her head from Dmo Xian's arms and straightened her body with a teasing look. Immediately, she looked up at the iron cage hanging in midair. Her eyes were as cold as the winter. Enchanting, I'm not interested in listening if you want to say it or not. She crossed her arms over her chest and supported her chin with the other hand, her eyes curved. I came here today just to see your miserable look, and to tell you, the current situation of the Z family. The steel cage of Enchanting, who had been silent all this while, suddenly shook violently. She pounced in front of the iron cage and stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Slut. You bitch. It's all your fault, you bitch. Enchanting howled. She shook the iron cage agitatedly, and ear-piercing sounds of friction could be heard. Yiqing Luo dug her ears curiously. Had Enchanting been living too carefree these few days in the dungeon? He actually still had so much physical strength left. Could his throat not get hoarse from all the shouting? On seeing Yiqing Luo's actions, the two guards beside her were afraid that they would disturb the two sirs as they lashed the long whips in their hands towards the iron cage. Zi Qianqian. If you dare to be rude to the Lord again, I'll put this iron cage down. The guard had just finished speaking when the iron cage that was suspended in the air suddenly fell down with a sound. Ah! Zi Qianqian screamed in fright. Just when he thought he was about to be swallowed by the poison cave, the metal cage suddenly stopped. It was just a few inches away from the poison cave. Zi Qianqian could clearly see that at the edge of the poison cave, there were centipedes and poisonous snakes mixed with various poisonous insects, sticking out their scarlet tongues at her. Zi Qianqian screamed and shrank behind the iron cage. The iron cage swayed in mid-air. The poisonous creatures poked their heads out of the cave one after another. Chapter 1758. This scene almost shocked Zi Qianqian out of her wits. Looking at Zi Qianqian shrieking crazily, the guard's face turned cold as he hung the iron cage back in mid-air. Zi Qianqian, you're just a prisoner now. This is our director's esteemed guest, an esteemed sir. If there's a next time. The guard looked at Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo. He wanted to take the opportunity to increase their favorable impression. But he realized that the both of them had an expression of watching a show. The guard could only turn his head resentfully, and when he looked at Zi Qianqian again, he spoke in a fiendish tone. If there's a next time, little thing in the poison cave, don't be so blind. After the iron cage was raised, Zi Qianqian had already stopped screaming. She panted heavily as she leaned against the iron cage. Her fingers had scratched the wound on her palm. Blood seeped out from her palm. She was totally unaware. Listening to the guard's threatening words, she recalled that when she was screaming earlier, Yiqing Luo must have been beside her, looking at her with a complacent look. Zi Qianqian felt a surge of anger, burning her heart. Good. If you have the ability, put me in the poison cave. I have the secret of the blazing flame lair, the dark forces. If the director doesn't come, I will not say anything. Or you can kill me. Zi Qianqian was furious as she fell beside the iron cage. The general courtyard had locked her up in the dungeon for so many days. Although he would torture and interrogate her every day, he had never used any harsh instruments of torture, nor had he really taken her life. They must be trying to find out some information from her mouth. This was her only capital to live on. She didn't believe that the guard would let her be swallowed by the poison before he got any information from her mouth. Otherwise, the guard wouldn't have stopped midway and hung her up in mid-air. Zi Qianqian. Don't play tricks. The guard reprimanded. Zi Qianqian's voice was hoarse as she laughed loudly. A look as though she had no fear towards life and death. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she glanced sideways at the guard. Satisfy her. Sir. The guard didn't react in time. Doesn't she want to die? Satisfy her. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she smiled warmly. This. The guard hesitated. Zi Qianqian seemed to know some secret. If he killed Zi Qianqian, wouldn't that be release? Yiqing Luo's pink lips curved slightly, her smile was tainted with a chill. The guard stiffened, but under Yiqing Luo's threatening gaze, he still chose to obey. The iron cage let out a loud clang. The sound of the guards unlocking the chains reverberated clearly in the dungeon. Zi Qianqian's face turned deathly pale as he looked at the guard in fear. They couldn't believe that the guards actually listened to Yiqing Luo's command, giving up on getting the information from her mouth to kill her. You. If you kill me, you will be helping the dark forces cover up their crimes. Zi Qianqian pointed at the guard and threatened him sternly. The guards looked at each other. On one side was the person whom the headmaster had personally instructed to entertain. On the other hand, the prisoners whom the dean wanted to pry information from them were currently using information to threaten them. They were just guards. What could they do? They were also in despair. Yiqing Luo smiled warmly, just a useless chess piece used by the dark forces, what can she know? In terms of information that is more beneficial, on the contrary. Student Su Xiaolian should know more than you. Zi Qianqian's Hao paused. Chapter 1759. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she gave a faint smile. The guards had a grave expression as they looked at Zi Qianqian before shifting their gazes onto Yiqing Luo. The meaning of Zi Qianqian's words was, this madam was also related to the dark forces. But looking at Yiqing Luo's calm expression, it didn't look like she was embarrassed after being exposed. Zi Qianqian, do you know who these two are? How dare you spout nonsense here? The guard didn't believe Zi Qianqian's words. She's just guilty. You bunch of fools, you've all been cheated by her. What kind of madam is she? She's just a waste from the Heavenly Academy, relying on the Dark Force's secret arts to get into this year's exchange meet. In the Blaze Lair, it's her. She threatened me to help the Dark Forces and even said that she would bring me into the Dark Forces. Zi Qianqian screamed hysterically. Tears welled up in her eyes. The guard caught the main point. This is just your one-sided statement, what evidence do you have? Moreover, as a student of the Heavenly Academy, you actually want to join the Dark Forces? I've been deceived by her. Zi Qianqian covered her face as she burst into tears. I just want to become stronger, I want to become the strongest student in the class of gods. She said the Dark Forces have the ability to give me endless power. I believed it. She's a waste, judged as a waste who can't cultivate since she was born. She had been a good-for-nothing for nearly 15 years and in a flash, she was admitted into the Heavenly Academy and became the most powerful student there. If it wasn't for the secret arts of the Dark Forces, how could she become so powerful from a good-for-nothing? The guard's expression changed. One of the guards suddenly thought of something. You're saying this madam was a waste previously? Yes. She's the publicly acknowledged waste in the West Continent. The reputation of waste, everyone knows about it. Seeing the guard taking the bait, Zi Qianqian's eyes flashed a trace of ruthlessness. No matter what, she must drag Yiqing Luo down with her. She wanted to see, after getting involved with the Dark Forces, what qualifications did Yiqing Luo have to be addressed as madam, and what qualifications did she have to sit beside that outstanding man. Zi Qianqian looked at Yiqing Luo complacently. She tried to see panic and unexplainable panic from Yiqing Luo's face. But, Yiqing Luo's expression remained calm. There was even a teasing smile at the corner of his mouth. He seemed to have sensed her gaze. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her eyes met with her gaze filled with ridicule. Zi Qianqian's heart skipped a beat. His breathing tightened, and he found it hard to breathe. Why, until now, Yiqing Luo still had the expression of watching a good show. Yiqing Luo didn't even put her in her eyes. Or Yiqing Luo had absolute confidence to refute her words. At this moment, the guard had already swallowed a mouthful of saliva as he looked at Yiqing Luo's expression with even more reverence. This sire's name, could it be Yiqing Luo? Zi Qianqian's thoughts were all on Yiqing Luo and totally didn't notice the guard's expression. Thinking that the guard had heard of Yiqing Luo's reputation of being a waste, he immediately replied, yes. She was Yiqing Luo. West Continent's famous Three Springs sex waste 7th Missy, Yiqing Luo. When this name came out of Zi Qianqian's mouth, the guards immediately looked at each other. Now you should believe what I said. If not for the dark forces, how could a waste like her? Zi Qianqian's complacent words had not finished. Chapter 1760. Zi Qianqian was dumbfounded. The direction where the guards were kneeling was exactly towards Yiqing Luo's direction. What was going on? Why were these guards kneeling towards Yiqing Luo? Yiqing Luo was also stunned by these guards' actions. She immediately stood up and was about to help them up. Behind her, a dignified deep voice was heard. I heard that some prisoners had been clamoring to see me. Sir Director. The guards immediately turned in another direction and kowtowed towards the entrance of the dungeon. They saw the director walking over slowly. The director was dressed in a white robe and his gaze was dignified. Director. Yiqing Luo nodded towards the director. When the director's gaze shifted to Yiqing Luo, his eyes were filled with a kind and amiable smile. Following that, he quickened his footsteps and walked to the side of Dmo Xian, who had been sitting all along, as he respectfully bowed towards Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian waved his hand. The director then stood up and asked the guards who were kneeling on the ground to get up. At this moment, the guards were stunned. Zi Qianqian was even more stunned. Who was the director? That was the main courtyard's director. Not to mention this was the main courtyard's turf. Even if it was in other continents, any family or powerhouse would want to please him. The main courtyard's director actually was so respectful towards a handsome-looking man. What was the man's identity? He seemed to have that kind of relationship with Yiqing Luo. Realizing this point, Zi Qianqian was so jealous that she was about to go crazy. She tugged at her tattered and blood-stained sleeves, as she looked at Dmo Xian in a daze. That kind of noble and perfect man. How could he belong to that slut Yiqing Luo? How could he be so gentle towards that slut Yiqing Luo? Suddenly, Zi Qianqian's expression changed as he stretched out his hand and pointed at Dmo Xian. You are Overlord. The current Dmo Xian had intentionally changed his looks, in case he caused too much commotion when he was beside Yiqing Luo. But no matter how he changed his looks, his temperament and the inherent nobility would not change. The man beside Yiqing Luo, the man who had an intimate relationship with Yiqing Luo, it was Dmo Xian. When Zi Qianqian uttered the words Lord Dizun, the crowd was stunned. The guards, who had just stood up, knelt on the ground again with a thud. Dizun. Dmo Xian raised his eyes, and in his half-narrowed peach blossom eyes, there was no longer the ripple from earlier, but an extremely cold intent. The guards knelt on the ground, not daring to make a sound. Don't scare them. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at Dmo Xian and immediately looked towards those guards. Get up, ignore him. The guards were speechless. You are the Overlord's favorite. Of course you are not afraid. But we're trash. Yiqing Luo sighed. With such a great Buddha by his side, he would be able to intimidate people wherever he went. Yiqing Luo simply couldn't be bothered to get those guards to stand up, but directly looked towards the dumbstruck Zi Qianqian, student Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian's whole body trembled. Even if you get Dizun to testify, you can't prove that you didn't collaborate with the dark forces. Moreover, the imperial palace might be in cahoots with the dark forces. Bam! A loud sound was heard and the sound of the metal chain swaying was heard. Zi Qianqian's metal cage suddenly fell down from the sky. That metal cage fell to the side of the poison cave and stopped. But very quickly, there were poisonous creatures wriggling, as they climbed up the metal cage. Zi Qianqian cried out in terror, as he trembled as he walked towards the other side of the metal cage. Chapter 1761. That iron chain was cut off by the headmaster. It was also the headmaster who used his profound chi to control the height of the iron cage. Just as those dozens of poisonous creatures crawled towards Enchanting. Suddenly there was another profound chi, blocking those poisonous creatures from approaching. To be precise, it was a layer of light that plated Enchanting's body. That light had the power to stop the poisonous creatures from approaching. The headmaster's expression changed slightly as he immediately turned to stare at the guard. The guard knelt down and explained, "Headmaster, please investigate clearly. This subordinate has indeed personally fed her the Supreme Profound Medicine Soup." Supreme Profound Medicine Soup. As the name suggested, it was a kind of medicine that targeted profound practitioners. It was a kind of medicine that could dissolve the profound energy of a profound practitioner. Once it entered the stomach, within 4 hours, it would dissolve all the profound chi in the body, unable to use any profound energy. Only after taking the antidote could she use profound energy normally. The power protecting her is indeed not profound energy. Yiqing Luo said lightly, a trace of craftiness flashed through her half-squinted eyes. She had almost forgotten. Enchanting had a legendary grade weapon on her, Tianling staff. That light on her body was the Tianling staff protecting Enchanting. No wonder it was a legendary grade weapon, it had its own consciousness to protect its owner. Yiqing Luo licked her lips, a trace of scheming flashed past her eyes. Dmo Xian suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms. A clear and deep voice sounded beside her ear, "You want it." The minute he saw Yiqing Luo's expression, he saw through her thoughts. Yiqing Luo nodded. A legendary grade weapon was rare, how could he not want it? The Tianling staff is made from Mirage Beast's magic crystal, it has gathered the resentment of thousands of Mirage Beasts. If you insist on controlling it, it is likely to cause a backlash from the profound Jade Heart. Dmo Xian curled up a strand of her hair and brought it to his lips for a light kiss. Yiqing Luo facepalmed. She had already forgotten that her profound Jade Heart had already started to move. If she went to conquer the Mirage Beast resentment, something bad was going to happen. Whatever, let's get it first. At most, after you tame it, throw it to the brothers as a toy. Yiqing Luo wrapped her arms around Dmo Xian's neck. Anyway, she had hugged such a thigh, what was there for her to worry about? Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with a gentle and pampering smile. His gaze was so gentle that water could be squeezed out of it. However, standing at the side, the principal, the few guards, and Enchanting, who was surrounded by poisonous creatures in the metal cage, broke out in a cold sweat. They were clearly discussing serious matters. These two lords had suddenly fed them a mouthful of dog food. Look at His Majesty's eyes. How was he like the heartless person in the legends? He was a henpecked husband who doted on his wife as much as his own life. Cough, cough, cough. The principal coughed dryly as he looked at the two of them. His eyes were filled with tenderness, as though he had forgotten everything else. Yiqing Luo's cheeks were dyed crimson red. Glaring resentfully at Dmo Xian, she got up from his embrace and flipped her hair, cough, that. Let's get rid of the poison first, she has something I want on her. The principal waved his sleeves. The poisonous creatures that crawled all over the iron cage immediately fell into the poisonous cave. The iron cage rose into the air again. Enchanting was still in a state of shock. He rubbed his arms with a face full of fear. Until all the poisonous creatures were gone. She was still shivering in fear. Yiqing Luo leaped up, her red robe was like a flame poppy blossoming in the darkness, emitting a fatal temptation. She floated in mid-air, at the same level as Enchanting. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.